Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and I love it that all of you are here as I continue to prep for the show. Geraldine Orozco is back with the Spiritual You, and we love it when Geraldine is here with us on a nightly or on a monthly basis. So it's always awesome, don't you think? Always, always awesome. And so thank you so much for tuning us in. Dirty Filth is here as well for another exciting show. And I brought the hat back. I liked it so much last night, I figured, you know what? I'm going to do it again tonight. What the hell? Let's just keep a roll going, shall we? All right, let's say hello to everybody in the chat room tonight. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. Laura Lobbs taking home the silver. Trucker Andrew with a nice bronze medal. And Raymond L. and Roy Boy, thanks for coming on in. Jack Clark, good to see you here. W. Decker, always a pleasure to have you back. Brown Dwarf, Sapphire Elf, Mexi 97, Deer Slayer, and Free Your Mind. How are you? Thurston Howell III, good to see you. And Road Flare, welcome to SOR chat. Dirty Filth already in the chat room. Rocket 9 is back. Rocket 9 will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Continuing on, there's our favorite Marine, Black Dragon. Kevin, how you doing? Stephanie, Kenny Blankenship, D. Sypha. Number 39 in your program, starting in goal from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Kurt M. and Pixie Lara, nice to see you. Tim Mothman and Tim Mothman's goatee, thank you for joining us, both of you. Sabrina, thank you for joining us. Hello there, Gizmo. And Dutch Hank, good to have you both here. Kathy Evans, thank you for joining us. Hello, Les Paul Holland. Hope you're having a strumming good day. Griff, what's going on? Millennium, my man, thank you for coming on in. Simon the Likeable, good to see you. Susie B, always a pleasure. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Paramarv, nice to have you back. And as we continue with roll call, we say hello to just another guy named Harry. Just another guy named Harry will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Mark Sanchez, nice to see you, my man. Hope you're having a good night. Jessica, always a pleasure. Science Melinda in Australia, we love you. Gansfeld, nice to see you again. Ozzy, good to have you back. And there's our man, Vin Man. Good to see you, buddy. Love Vanessa. How are you? And let's see who else is here. Debster, thank you for kicking off this super chat tonight. We very much appreciate your love and support of SOR on a nightly basis. So thank you. And for the kind comments on Twitter, my dear. Thank you. Jane's Coffee, welcome to SOR chat. Dogface Simon, good to see you. And Christine Lynn and W. Decker with an amazing super chat. Thank you very much, W. Decker, for the love and support, my man. Appreciate you. Let's get the radio side started as we can get Bill WD-40 into the chat room to lube us up for tonight's show. And come on, get on over there. There we go. And who else do we have in the room so far? We have Human Carl, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, Human Carl. And who else is here? Let's take a look as we scroll on down. Sweet Donna C. Nice to see you. Mrs. Donna, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Stargazer and Rose Brooks. And Mike Rivers, good to have you back. Corey, Sweetly Morbid Bear, nice to see you both here. And scrolling on down, Linda B, nice to have you here. Xochitl Paez Richards, how are you, my dear? Good to see you. And thank you to Jenny White Bear for being our latest member of the Space Travelers Club. We appreciate it, Jenny. Thank you so much. The gorgeous and talented Amber Dawn Glover has arrived. And Dewey Cheetah Howe, nice to see you. Scrolling on down as we are running out of time. Aaron Bacca and Electric Cuttlefish. Good to see you both. Hi, Bigfoot Rob. And do me a favor, everybody. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us, will you, at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A power show of information for you tonight as the spiritual you with Geraldine Orozco is going to happen momentarily. Then in hour number 3, we bring in Steve Stockton with another amazing story from Among the Missing. And right after that, we hail on over to Robin McCrae with the Cryptid Report. All right, it is that time of the night where we say hello to Geraldine Orozco from Bay Area Meditation in San Francisco, California. She comes in once a month for everything spiritual and aliens, and her hair is always intact, looking perfect. Yes, you can't see that on the radio, so you're going to have to trust me for it, or just Google her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. She has worked with major businesses and major people around the world, hundreds, if not thousands of people, to help them understand their experiences, their healing, their body, their mind, their soul. She is one of the best when it comes down to it, and we love it that she comes here each and every month. Geraldine Orozco, it is always a pleasure to have you here, my dear. Thank you for joining us on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to get you to unmute your microphone if you don't mind.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for having me. It's so wonderful to be here.
It is so wonderful to have you back again because, these months are flying by, but, I'm always excited to get to talk to you whenever I get the opportunity because you are not only an important person for this show, you're an important person in my life. And I always know that, and for our listeners, if you ever need anything spiritually understood, you give Geraldine a phone call or you hit her up on her website or social media. And you say, hey, Dave sent me over and I need some help with this. And she is the one who can help, What do you think of the new hat?
Thank you. I love your outfit. You look so great. You look so sharp today. My goodness. What's the occasion?
Well, you know what? I'm trying to pretty up myself. I know I got a face for radio, but I'm trying to pretty myself up. So I actually trimmed the beard back quite a bit. And I actually, last week, I took a week off and I actually got sleep.
Wow,
I was averaging like 10 hours a night. I usually average between 5 and 6 hours a day of sleep. and
Wow.
I was averaging over my holiday like 10 hours. It was
Wow,
amazing.
that's so great.
Yeah, I forgot what it was like to be absolutely blood. But more importantly, how have you been?
Fantastic. Just like you, getting lots of rest and working a lot, lots of things, very exciting projects, and traveling actually over the past month. A lot of travel.
Yes, I saw that. I saw you were at the Stonehenge over in the United Kingdom. What was that like? And what kind of energy were you able to pull off of that?
Oh my God, it was phenomenal. I actually was speaking at a conference in Glastonbury, and Glastonbury was amazing epicenter of energy. It's supposed to be the heart chakra of the world, and there was so much going on. I mean, I could dive deep into it, but it was very powerful. And then well, I have actually a lot to tell you. I went to Stonehenge, and the energy there is also incredible, but it's part of a grid. So it's not just Stonehenge, it's actually part of an entire network of energy that's kind of set up in that whole area. It's really beautiful. And I also went to a crop circle, by the way, which was
Oh,
mind blowing. That was one of the highlights of the trip.
oh,
Yeah.
we got to talk about that. What was
We
that
do.
like?
We
What
do.
was
It was phenomenal. Yeah, so there is actually a website that tells you live when crop circles come up, and there was actually several of them that had come up during that week. And so the one that we went to see was about an hour and a half away from where I was staying, and I think 2 hours away from Glastonbury. But first of all, it was quite a hike. It was kind of very hard to get because it's in fields, it's in farmland. So you have to walk a lot through the fields, through these areas that are not very open to the public. And this specific one was next to a tomb, like this incredible tomb. And this tomb used to be, was made by the Druids. The Druids used to create these underground tombs, these very long underground tombs where they would put all of the burials within the tomb, and then they would close it with stone. Everything was made of stone. And the direction of the tomb, which I don't know what I got this hit to just first of all, when you come close to the stone, you start hearing whispering. You start hearing whispering. It is actually so alive with communication. And the trees are marked with these strange shapes. Like there's several trees. That there's four main pillar trees around the tomb that have these incredible marks on them, and it looks like light language. It looks like alien language. Actually, it's really interesting. Yeah. So apparently, the Druids used to set up these burial sites like this, and they are set up. And I just got this hit to look at my compass, and when I take out my compass and stand in the middle of that doorway of the tomb, it is exactly 333 northwest. I was blown away because I was like,
no?
no way. I was like, is this right? And it was like exactly, that. And so we're looking for the crop circle, and so we got this another intuition to go in the direction of that northwest 333. And so we go around the tomb where there's a fence, and we go through the fence. We literally climb through there into the field, and there's the crop circle. And so when we look at the crop circle, we walk through the fields, and something that I was very surprised to discover is that the wheat it's very thick. It's actually very hard. It's not so easy to bend. It's not flimsy. They're really beautiful, thick stalks. And so when you walk towards it, you begin to see the formations of these crops, like being gently bent over, and stretched out. Like every single one of the little, plants. I'm not the palms. I'm not sure what you would call them, but my God, they are all perfectly stretched out. So whatever created this thing, and of course there are man-made circles as well. There's also circles that come from the earth. But this one, I mean, it was just perfectly laid, and each one of them straight. On top of that, creating a pattern in the ground with the little weeds. I mean, it was just phenomenal. It was mind blowing, and the wheat was bent. They weren't broken, and you couldn't disrupt the pattern. Like you couldn't move it. I don't know how or why, but it was so stiff. And when there was a lady there, this lovely lady that, we got to talking, and I asked her, is this the first time you're here? She's like, oh no, we follow them all the time. And that for me, it has a spiritual meaning. And I see a force field around it. And I said, yes, totally. And so we got to talking about it. She says, lay down in the circle. Oh my gosh, I lay down in the circle. And all of a sudden, it's almost as if the temperature changed from the top of the crop circle to the bottom of the crop circle on the floor. And it was almost as if there was a rush of energy as you lay down in the crop circle. And the energy is running in the direction of the shape of how the fronds are laid down. And I was with a friend of mine, and my friend, had got like bit by something on the knee, and it had pus. It had like two giant white marks. Like within minutes, it swole up into this big red bowl, and we were so concerned. But he was fine. We go to the crop circle. They lay down on the grass as well. I mean, we were there for about an hour meditating, but by the time we left, we're walking down the street again, and there was nothing on the knee. Gone. This gigantic swollen thing that was pussing and red, and we're like, is it poison ivy? Is it like a bug that you got bit? I mean, it was just unbelievable. So definitely that was, and then of course in the meditation, when you sit in that crop circle and you move in the direction of how it's laid, you start getting these holographic images of who created it, what it's about, like who's there and what's the communication. And that was also phenomenal. And they invited me to take a rock that was there. And that was a whole nother experience, because at night, when I took the rock home, I was thinking, okay, I shouldn't have taken the rock from the crop circle, because when I did, boy, did I start having these invitations to join in with the group that created the crop circle. And I couldn't sleep. I mean, it was like having a glow in the dark object, like a big one, in your room. The energy was so profound. So it was amazing, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an experience. Did you get any messages from the meditation that you were doing within the crop circle?
I did so much, because, I was creating my presentation, and there was a final element that I was trying to understand about it. And, first of all, there were mantid beings. It was mantid beings that were participating in creating this crop circle. And it's kind of like the crop circles that show up this summer are a communication, if you put all of them together, about telling a story about what we're going to be going into in the next 7 years. So what they showed me was like a flash of major transformation around the world. They showed me how Glastonbury is like, it really is the heart chakra of the earth, but they showed me how the energy moves in that particular place, and how you would need to hold space energetically in order to change it, and how the intention of humanity would need to connect with their heart, and the way that energy moves in the heart, in order to kind of create collective timelines and shifts. Because right now, especially this month, it's almost as if we're entering into another phase of energy, majorly, and things are going to start speeding up really fast. A lot of technology is going to come out, as I've been saying for the past couple of months, but it's going to really start moving quickly. And so the invitation is for people to come into a state of non-judgmental observation, but even deeper than that, detachment. It's so important, detachment of all identities. And that's something that they showed me very vividly, is that, they showed me like this little petal that would just dissolve, and then from there would just be a light in the middle. And then I opened my eyes, and the rock was there. And I think the rock was part of an invitation to continue that information. But essentially, the light in the middle is detachment of everything, so that you understand that your body, we are not this permanent physical. And in order to deal with the major changes that are going to happen in the world, to be able to be in a state of flow, is very important. So I've been talking a lot about that on my channel as well over the past couple of weeks. But when you get these messages, it's a lot of information, and then you get little glimpses that you kind of have to parse through. But yeah, this is just a short version of that.
Wow. I know, and as silly as this may sound when I say this, when I went to Area 51 or at the Little Alien, which is
Yeah.
just outside of Area 51 earlier this spring, I got emotional. I,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
and I remember a random guy who I was with looking at me and he goes, "Are you crying?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, "Why?" And I said, "Because I've always wanted to be here. Like this is a bucket list moment for me, and seeing a crop circle would be much the same for me." For you, did you experience for yourself, not from the beings or the energy, but just for yourself, to have that beautiful moment and just take it all in and maybe get a little emotional about it?
Oh, absolutely. It was surreal. There were a couple places that I felt that on this trip. I went to different energy points in Europe. That was part of my trip. But another thing that's really interesting that I want to mention that I was shown there is that we go to the places that we're supposed to go in order to expand not only DNA, but also we expand harmonious aspects of ourselves by the activation of the emotional impact that is created from these places. They literally expand aspects of ourselves. And so, because we're unlocking ancestral memory, because when you go there and you have an emotional reaction like that, you have been there, and you've engaged in the energy of that space, and it's in your DNA. It becomes activated, so it creates this incredible charge in your body. And that's exactly what happens. What happened to me there is that, first of all, I have a very profound connection many lifetimes in the UK. So as a druid, when I went to the tomb, I got flashes of being there, being one of the druids, being one of the women seers at some point, many lifetimes, and also being on the opposition of that too. And then when I went to the crop circle, the land itself was a profound memory and reconnection. So it really brought me to tears. And just to see the magnificence of this crop circle is also humbling, because this is like that AI moment where you look at AI and the incredible intelligence of that. This is what you're also witnessing here. Stonehenge did cause that for me, and Glastonbury, but not Glastonbury is such a beautiful town, full of crystal stores, mystical stores, lots of witches, witchcraft there as well, which is an echo to the energy work that has been happening in Glastonbury for many centuries, and also the suppression of the light in that area, which is very controlled, in my opinion, with a lot of the inversion of light, and so you can feel that, and that was also an emotional realization there. How Glastonbury, as the heart of the world, being suppressed by a lot of witchcraft for many centuries, inverts the light that is potentially expansive in that space. And so light workers that go visit that place really need to work with the feminine energy, with that intuitive reconnection, that is needed to be built in all of humanity at this time, that trust in the intuition, something that we need to cultivate. So that was a loud message, and that was very emotional as well. And one other place I will tell you that was emotional, I went to Barcelona, to La Sagrada Familia, this made by Gaudi, this famous architect. My God, Dave, this is like an alien building. I don't know if any of you have been there. Truly magnificent architecture, and the symbolism is so complex. It is a communication of a high intelligence, something I've never witnessed before on Earth. I've seen this kind of technology on crafts and things like this, but not on Earth. So that was another super emotional experience. But yeah, but it's also built on like energy, on grids. I mean, this man knew something way more. you know, yeah.
Wow, that is incredible. I mean, just the idea that you had these surreal spiritual experiences. How did it, now that you're back home and you're looking back on all of this, how did it affect you in your own personal growth?
This it's funny because sometimes we get stuck in monotonies of things. Of course, my life is never quite that monotonous because I try to not go into any monotony myself. But what I notice is that this trip, it was absolutely orchestrated for many centuries. The level of my spiritual progression that I have worked towards made me a vibrational frequency to be able to even come to these places, have those communications, have those experiences. And I noticed this for all the people that were there as well, people that I connected with and talked about. They were having a lot of active dream times, because most people that are in the spiritual community are working on lucid activation. They are activating their lucid dreams. And this is one of the most important things. The things that we do in the dream realm is actually one of the most important parts of our spiritual work. And this is where those veils begin to lift. So when you travel to these places, it's like you already have agreements that you need to be there. Work needs to be done. People don't just go to places randomly. Anyone, even if you go to Florida on vacation or to, Kentucky or wherever it is, this is an ancestral memory that is becoming unlocked. There is always more than one reason why, because we're so deeply interconnected, and our DNA through the morphogenetic field, we are also traveling through the DNA of the earth itself, that is also an earth grid. So what I learned from this experience is that when you wake up, when you have to be awake, you have to be in the present moment to be able to witness and recognize these kinds of opportunities that present themselves to you. That every single point that I traveled through, England, through France, Paris, south of France, Spain, Portugal, all of these spaces have very specific bloodline history from my specific ancestors. And I didn't realize that until I got there, and it just unlocked all of these memories. So how it changed for me is that it's a spiritual work. It's a spiritual work that is available to you if you wish to have that opportunity. And the invitation that I wish to share with everyone is: be aware, be in the present moment, be conscious, so you don't get distracted with the external exchanges that are happening. Because a lot of times, sometimes travel can be stressful for people. Don't get distracted in that. Focus on anchoring yourself in the present moment to be able to observe the magic that is kind of available to you around us, because there's a lot going on, lots of communications around us all the time that we have to pay attention to. So it has changed me tremendously. It's a refresher, it's a clarity, and it's looking at the future, what's next, essentially.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that because it just seems to have brightened you up. I'll tell you a quick funny story here.
Yeah,
On my vacation last week,
yeah,
I'm in Whistler, and they have this
beautiful.
giant gem store, and it has everything from artifacts from extinct animals in there to all sorts of gems and everything. One of the gems they had in there, by the way, was worth $150,000,
Wow,
right?
what was it?
I was like, you got to be kidding me. But here's the funny thing. They had this line of pendulums. So this lady comes up, do you need some help? I said, oh, I'm just looking at your pendulums. I said, have you seen how they work? Right. And she's like, no. And I started using a pendulum right in front of her, and I got it to go fast. And then I said, pendulum, stop. And it came to a complete stop like that. And she's like, I'm staying the hell away from you. So that was my good laugh in the store there. Geraldine Orozco from Bay Area Meditation. Her website is geraldineorozco.com. The Spiritual You returns right after this. And we're going to find out, what do them aliens want with us? Implants and more on Spaced Out Radio. I'm glad you had an amazing trip.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll show you the pictures. I don't know if you saw the pictures of the crop circle. I
I'm
took
gonna
some videos too.
I'm gonna go look right now. Hold on.
Oh yeah, you can see on my. I think they're on there. Most of them.
Are they
Yeah.
on Facebook or Instagram?
I think on Instagram.
All
Yeah.
right, hold on. Hold on. I'll go there right now. I'm gonna go there right now. Yeah, I'm going to type it out and I have it saved here. Right. Let's find you. Geraldine. There you are. You have you got two Instagrams?
One is my art one, and the other one is the regular one.
Yes. You follow me. That's awesome.
Of course, I do.
Oh, is that the Druid Cavern right there?
A druid? Oh yeah. Do you see that? That's the tomb. You see the tomb?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the crop circle here.
Let me see.
I'm glad you brought a real heavy jacket. Wouldn't want you to be cold there.
It was so hot. It was very hot. It was so beautiful. The English countryside is just divine.
Now, be honest. How many suitcases did you pack for your shoes?
Dave, I took one suitcase and it was small, very small. I'm a very good packer, Dave. Come on. I used to be a flight attendant. I know how to do it.
Were you a flight attendant? I didn't know that.
Are you sure? I think I told you. Yeah, I used to be a flight attendant.
Wow.
College, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Right.
so it's the picture where I'm wearing the black hat. I'm wearing a black sun hat. That's the one. If you look at those pictures, that's the crop circle there.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to say one thing here. Hold on. I just want our audience to see what you look like when it dips below 91 degrees. There she is. That's 90 degrees right there, people. She's frozen. Frozen.
Dave, that was at least 60.
Oh, I love you. I do. I love and adore you. Thank you.
Funny. So what kind of crystal was that cost so much money?
I'm sorry. It wasn't a crystal. It was this fish, a skeleton of this really rare fish.
I see.
And sorry, I thought it was a crystal, but no, it was a fish for like 150,000.
A fossil?
A fossil. Yes, thank you.
Fossil. Thank you.
Remember that word.
Thank you. I couldn't remember the word.
Yeah.
And yeah, 157,000 and change or something like that. But they had megalodon teeth. The first thing my son sees when he goes inside is all the megalodon teeth. They were charged. They had like about 60 of them. They were charging minimum starting $500 for a megalodon tooth. I'm like, I can order one from a store in North Carolina where they're finding them for like 100 American, right? That's like 120 Canadian or 130 Canadian, right?
So, yeah, you go to Tucson, you can get it even for less, probably. Gem show. Next time I go, I'll find one for him if I go there. Wow, yeah, so expensive. Some things are becoming silly overpriced.
Yeah, or South Carolina or wherever they are.
Mm.
Wherever they are. Just getting hammered all over the place in the chat room right now. Bombshell Bomber, how you doing? Yeah, they had this skeleton of this extinct bear.
Wow. That's a cool store.
Yeah, and the bear was like 37,000 or something like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was like, I would totally take that over the fish.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
How beautiful. Where else did you go?
We spent a day in Vancouver, and then I went and spent 3.5 days with my dad.
Oh,
So,
that's nice.
yeah. 1 second here, Geraldine. Big thank you, W. Decker ×2, Cat Chaser, Simon in Australia, and Debster for the super chats. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club. Link is in the description. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. We're going to be looking at aliens this half hour. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any other podcast network that is out there, from Spotify to iTunes, Google Play, everything in between. We are there, and it is all free for you. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join our Space Travelers Club on Patreon. Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You continues right now. And Geraldine, I want to get into something we haven't talked about in a long time. And that is alien implants.
Okay. Yeah.
People who have been abducted claim to have alien implants. These little look like wires, almost like fiber optics, or sometimes it looks like a mini black rock or silverish rock that's been tucked into your skin. Some people have them locked in those places. Others have said they move around the minute you try and get at them. Some people have had them extracted. Others have not. What's your thoughts on these alien probes that we call implants?
Yeah. So there's two implant selections that we got to talk about, sections. The implants that are put in by interdimensional beings, and then the implants that are more like terrestrial technology. And from interdimensional beings, most of the implants are designed to monitor the person that is participating in the experience. And some people, what I've discovered over the years is that some people can have several implants from different groups. Usually they will target different parts of the body depending on the vibrational frequency of the species and their intention. And for military abductions or military kind of interactions, they also have pretty specific places where they put their implants. And usually the interest is the same, in that the interest is the DNA or the genetic code, the preservation of it, the exploration of it, or the use of the DNA of the person that is being part of the experience. And so whether it's part of the hybridization program or whether it's some other monitoring, because what I also find is that people that do become aware of the implants, because most people that have implants, they don't know that they have implants. It's not something that they're aware of until they have some kind of spiritual awakening, or they have a lucid dream, or an experience that they actually remember that something was put into the part of the body, and then they wake up and they look in the part of the body, and then they have something there. They have a mark, they have a bump, they have, they feel it under the skin, or, they feel that it's there. And usually people that have experiences tend to awaken psychic abilities of some sort, of some level. They are able to have these things. So it allows them to become aware of that. And so what happens is that oftentimes when the person gets the implant, usually they won't remember until much later, sometimes years later. And the implantation process in some of these interdimensional programs, as well as terrestrial military, happen at a very early age. Usually between the age of 5 and 7 is when the first implantation usually occurs in people. And the idea, when it's connected to hybridization programs and medical procedures that are connected to DNA and genetics, is to monitor the organism. And some of these implants, when they are put in by very low vibration groups and species, the implants can be utilized to stall the spiritual development, the emotional development of the individual. It can also interfere or stimulate, like a parasite, emotional impulses and chemical reactions in the body in order to produce specific chemicals. Usually, lower frequency beings and entities will feed off of very low vibration emotional states. And at the same time, the chemicals that are produced from those low emotional states is something that is utilized for whatever agendas or programs they have. The other side of that is that, from the military perspective, it is to monitor, but on a more like terrestrial perspective. Not the technology of the terrestrial implants are not as advanced as these interdimensional, because interdimensional implants are both physical, it's biological technology. It's both physical and also interdimensional. So usually healers or psychics, when they look into the body of someone that has an implant, you can see the connection in the physical body, but you can also very much see the presence of the implant in the layers of the individual's aura or bodies. And usually you will be able to identify where these species come from based on the body in which it's anchored into. So first layer, second layer, third layer, we have infinite layers. And usually most implants are found from the 13-dimensional layer down. Those are the ones that tend to either interfere, or the person becomes aware of it and they need to learn how to process whatever is attached. Emotional or contractual agreements are attached to those implants. And so when you can remove them, but you need to understand why they're there in the first place. And here's why. Because some implants are actually implanted in order to help the person heal. And this is interdimensional implants. Okay, we'll talk about military later. But interdimensional implants can have two purposes. One of them is to harvest, of course, genetics, which tends to be across the board. But one of them will utilize those genetics for a malicious purpose, more parasitic reason. And it's to manipulate the person. It is to their benefit that they utilize the implant to suppress ascension. And usually what happens is that they will put it in early, between the age of 5 and 7, because at the age of 7 is when the development of the chakra system is complete in the body, until the 7th, 13th dimensional layer. And this means that the child is beginning to really solidify matrix programming in their field, and it becomes difficult to break certain patterns moving forward. In addition, the interest in the biology is heightened when they're going through puberty. Okay, so when the kids go through puberty, now we have an entire hormonal system going, and so they want to monitor that so that they can direct like what is occurring there. If it's a low vibration parasitic, it can induce and feed off of the product of trauma, like fear and anger, and utilize that to manipulate the subject in a way that they feed off of that anger. The person can, when they don't know awareness, the child can go into drugs, for example, or sex programs, for example, and then utilize that data, and feed off that as a parasite. That would be the parasitic exchange. This is also utilized by MyLab programs, because they manipulate the subject to be part of, any number of PSYOP programs, where they can they can utilize this individual kind of like a Manchurian candidate situation, where they kind of create alters through the trauma, which they induce. And then they utilize that person to carry out certain things. And for the women, usually they involve them in sex programs. And the sex programs they become highly aroused, highly sexual, and they utilize that information. They can weaponize it. They've done that in the 50s in the military. But these are also subtle programs that happen contractually in military families. That's what I find a lot. Families that have a lot of military in their lineage, they tend to have a lot of sexual abuse. They tend to have a lot of these kinds of missing time scenarios where they can't remember things, and a lot of ancestral trauma that goes in down the bloodline. And these are usually monitored by Draco-reptilian bloodlines. And the reason why we see that is because the kind of technologies that you find in the body for people that have been part of my lab, and also these really low parasitic Draco-reptilian programs, is paralyzing, and they are they look like metal structures, like some kind of exoskeletons. When you look at the multidimensional body of the person, like the person will literally have like an exoskeleton tail, the person will have an exoskeleton attachment to the back of the spine, and then the person will have back problems, or the person will have internal issues. So there's always health issues that are participant as a result of these kinds of implants. So sometimes people that have health problems, when these implants are removed, the health problem can improve. However, I want to be very clear that in all of these programs, the key is the vibrational resonance of the individual. So because at a young age, we may have experienced a lot of trauma, we become a host to these kinds of parasitic programs, whether they're terrestrial or interdimensional. So this individual has to cultivate their vibrational frequency to a high level, and those implants will naturally dissolve out of the body. Okay, that's one way of healing them. Another way of healing them is to go to a person that can see them and help them deprogram the root cause that allowed those implants to embed into the body. Because these are bioelectrical implants. They're biological data. They take your DNA and they use that DNA and combine it with certain kind of metals that disrupt your ability to create electromagnetic transduction in your body. It interrupts usually in the spinal cord. They'll be found usually in the spinal cord, because the spinal cord is where you have the medulla, which is it's the base core DNA of the human, one of the most important. So a lot of my lab experiences, that's why you will hear that they implant into, or they do a spinal tap, or they will implant into the spine, and also down here in the brain, okay, into this lower part of the brain, and also here in the front. Okay, they also go in through the ear. You'll have a lot of implants here around the ear and around this part of the brain, usually in order to connect into the network, because they want to enhance the amygdala, which is the survival mechanism. Okay, and usually they will put dormant the logical part of your brain and highlight the survival part, because that way they can fractalize the human. Okay, so that's kind of the more negative aspects. Not everybody has those, but those are something that does happen. And again, the key is you change your vibrational frequency. That's how you remove them. Okay. The next part would be, and some of these, let's talk about the healing parts, right? Because usually interdimensional interactions with aliens or interdimensional organisms and species, these can be your Pleiadians, your Arcturians, all of these Lyrans, Mantids, all of these other races. Depending on the agreement, usually these kinds of implants actually can provide support for the human, but you need to look into it. You need to see. And there have been cases, and Preston Dennett talks about this. I've talked to Preston Dennett about this, that some of these implants actually healed the person once the implant was put in. And I experienced this myself personally when I became really ill. One group put in a implant that was like going to kill me in 3 months. And then another light being came in, put another implant, and I was healed from one day to the next. So this is something that, also we hear a lot in the support group. And usually those implants are in the energetic field and gently come into the physical body. They have to be invited into the body. So the human has to want to heal, have the will and the intention to heal, and it is received by the cells of the body. And then it's like a vaccine, that is energetic vaccine, that's put into the body, that begins to communicate with the cells and the network of the body and changes the chemistry. Usually it helps the human. It's been reported in my group, they usually feel more calm, they're more at peace. It's almost, some people claim that all of the past memories of trauma have just been erased, and they don't feel that they have to pull back into that trauma again and again, which essentially helps them heal, right? And that's true for all healing, that when you heal that emotional trauma, your body can heal also. So this is something that we see with those implants. And those are implants that you don't want to take out of the body, until you create a really strong spiritual foundation with yourself and you become your own healer. These are just temporary support systems that are created by your guides or your groups, usually your councils. And what are councils? Councils are holographic system of your genetic ancestors. So your star seed ancestral lineage are usually the beings that are there to support you, that come and are available to you, through your own personal shift and transformation, or when you call them into your space. These can also be angelic beings, and then a plethora of beings that are available to us. So let me see. Yeah, so those are the different ranges of these implants. I don't know if I covered. I missed something there. Let's
Oh,
see.
I think you really did well on that. I mean, does this seem to happen, or are more males than females, or females than males infected with these implants?
So infected would be if it's a parasitic one, I guess. And again, that there's two reasons why people end up having implants that can really affect their lives. Military families, I see it a lot. Military families, or families that have very old ancestral bloodlines that are deeply connected to shadow government and those historic bloodlines. Okay, they have a lot of implantation. Why? Because another element that I didn't talk about, which is really important, is the genetic modification that occurs as a result of implants. When implants are put into the organism, there is definitely a mutation in this genetic bloodline that occurs. And so, actually, one of the ways that they manipulate and genetically modify a human is with implantation. But implants don't necessarily have to be like a specific metal thing. It's etheric. It's an etheric implant, and it's like an entity that attaches to the human thought form that can feed it. So let's say the human goes through, let's say, sexual abuse. That's why sexual abuse is used so much in this shadow dark governments, and that's why so many children go missing, because they are utilized for a lot of these very dark programs. The fractalization that has occurred by abuse on the soul creates a fractalization that becomes very manipulative. So if you have a lot of aspects of yourself that are fractalized, unhealed parts of you, you can utilize them. You can manipulate, you can weaponize them. And so these shadow aspects utilize those things. So it's important for the human to understand you must reintegrate yourself. This is so important, in order to be able to heal from these things. And you see them a lot in these very old family bloodlines. The people, the ancestors, and then the new generations that come in, come in pretty heavily implanted. But I also see another aspect that's happening right now, in terms of the shift of the collective, that more people are being able to transcend these kinds of implantations. I feel that it's like, because of the vibrational frequency of the state that we're in, because we go to a high level collectively, there is an element of free will that becomes stronger in the collective. When there is consciousness, there is a little bit more free will each time. Okay, it goes hand in hand. More consciousness means more free will. From the perspective, again, I don't really believe in free will because we're deeply interconnected and interdependent. But if we become aware, then our choices in waking state and in dream state, now we become empowered into the kind of life that we're going to have. So that ability allows you to avoid having any kind of unconscious dormant in like interceptions into your biology, and that's really important for every human to dominate, at this time and always. But it is more available now than before.
We have 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break. At the top of the hour, Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You continues. How about children? Are we seeing a lot of children implanted?
There are children that are implanted, but it's usually from the age of 5 to 7 that have implants. But um, again, usually those won't really affect the child until they go into their puberty. And usually, unfortunately, it's usually children that don't really have a lot of guidance, that don't have a lot of parental support or spiritual education, that end up falling into these traps of drug abuse, or other kinds of abuse. So those are perfect hosts for this kind of implant technology. Okay, so the more that we hold space for our children, don't get scared, because sometimes the children will have dreams of implants put into the body. We need to connect with our bodies. We need to know our bodies to understand what's happening and what's the agreement. This is something that we can ask and we can learn from, because not all implants need to be removed for the body until and the reason why is because they naturally dissolve when you shift your vibrational frequency. Okay, so the more you heal, the more you will be unattached to everything. You won't have debris. I also call it debris or entities in your field. Those are all part of those implants.
Right. What do you think the extraterrestrials are tracking when they put this in it? Is it about our DNA? Is it about our growth, what we're thinking, what we're doing, how our body reacts, chemicals, temperatures, it's emotions, etc.?
Yes, all of them, all of the above, because we are bioelectrical beings, and our emotions are an electrical charge that create biochemical crystals in the body, that are embedded in the code of our DNA. And so, as you know, we pass down emotional patterns generationally. And so, the invitation for us as a human citizen, interdimensional human being, is to be able to break patterns that are destructive to the entire a genetic bloodline. Okay, because that becomes self-destructive. And so when we are in the presence of our interdimensional guides or aspects of ourselves, they want us to heal. They want to support that healing. So some of these contact experiences are an initiation process to break the matrix veil into your interdimensional self. And it's absolutely necessary that most humans do have at least one of these experiences, so that they can understand that you are not the body, and this world is not what it seems, because that allows the human to be able to end those matrix programs into healing. And so, what is being monitored essentially is the biology, when the child goes into puberty, whether they will be utilized for the hybridization program or whether they need support with their organism, depending on the agreements of ascension. Some of the support that these ET beings are giving people is spiritual support. People are learning, they are shown things, they are just expanding their minds, they are reminding them of who they are, and that is incredibly healing, because it also creates mutations in the DNA. Okay. And so on the other side of it, parasitic, welcome back.
Let's just wait till we get back. GeraldineOrozco.com is Geraldine's website. Spiritual You and Hour 2 continues on Spaced Out Radio. Alien implants. What do they want with us? What are they testing? Are they getting any good radio signals? We continue right after this. All right, my dear. We got 6 minutes.
Great. I'll be right back.
Yep, me too. All right, Dirty Filth, we're going to turn this over to you. Don't forget to unmute your mic and let everybody know about the psychedelics you're painting tonight. Maybe I should unmute you. No, you can unmute.
I was having difficulty with the cat.
There you go.
They're out of control.
You're out of control.
The whole damn system's out of control. All right, let's see what we got here. Hi, everybody. Drawing a quick cartoon of a rod-shaped UFO that was seen in Cardiff, Wales, 1905, if I remember correctly. Yes, right there, 1905. And the cats are crazy. I apologize for coughing into your ear. Texas front porch. He's probably there. Hi, Bomber. Hi, Dogface. Sapphire Elf. Everybody else. It's going much too fast. I wasn't expecting... This was a little sketch that I did previously. But I wasn't expecting it to become an actual painting. And now that I get to glop these little tiny circles in here. It's taking a little bit longer than I expected, so... I'll probably learn from it. Yes, paint the like button. Hit that like button with a steel chair coming right off the top ropes. Just wham. Kick him in the junk, stole cold stunner. I don't know. Choke slam, something. Ooh. I think the fight will be on between the gargoyle and the gremlin. They're getting a little bit rowdy. Oh, by the way, the blob is passed out downstairs. I left the TV show on. And I put the blanket up over just enough in case if anybody's wondering about the blob. Oh, it's like a billion little dots of peas. Like pea soup. Well, this is terribly tedious. I didn't think this through very well, did I? Nope. See, if they can make clones, this is what I need clones for. It's like, clone, do the small tedious junk for me while I draw 4 extra cartoons. Just let the paint dry a little bit. Actually, no, it should be good for the highlighting of the bold letters. Dave probably got abducted by aliens. He's not coming back, folks.
Looking good, Dirty. Looking good.
I appreciate the black and white Freddy Krueger shirt, Dave.
You like that?
Going into Halloween strong.
All right. We want to say a big thank you to Big Tex, Simon ×2, W Decker ×2, Cat Chaser, and the Debster. Excuse me, for the great super chats. Hi, Mr. Cowley. Welcome back to the show. Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio. Jimmy, how you doing? Reminder to all of you, you can check in the description below this show. You can join the Space Travelers Club on Patreon right now. It's really cool. We're going to be adding more stuff here coming up very, very soon. And we appreciate the love and the help that we're getting so far. And here we go, everyone, with the second hour.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott, the guy behind the tinfoil mask. Yes, thank you so much to our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us, will you, at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Batholith. Batholith is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon. You can join the Space Travelers Club right now. All right, Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You continues as we bring in Geraldine from Bay Area Meditation, her website, GeraldineOrozco.com, and we were talking about alien implants with children, Geraldine. And, these are common between 5 and 7 years old, you were saying, for children to have the implants put in. I couldn't imagine having a child that's implanted. I mean, how do you even discuss that?
Well, the thing is that we always think of things as linear time, but we have to remember that the linear concept of our human development is very limited to our dimensional plane, our perception, because these implants actually have a lot more to do with our soul contractual agreements than they do just this lifetime. So we look at a child, we think they're very, very young, very innocent, very, they haven't seen the world yet. But actually, the child has a whole history of many lives that they have participated. This soul can be very old. They can have many agreements that have been made, and they are making also in dream time. When a child incarnates into a family bloodline, they already have a whole set of agreements that the child has already made, or this soul really has made in order to experience in this lifetime. So these kinds of implants are things that don't follow the time guidelines. And here's why. I'll give you an example. A lot of my contactees at an early age, they have dreams of, for example, future timelines of themselves in past lives or themselves in future lives. They have dreams of flying, they have dreams of being on craft, and all of these kinds of experiences are markers of the future. Okay, they're future timelines. They often have times of children having children or being introduced to children, like hybrid children at an early age. And these are children that they have or they end up agree to having later on. Okay, so they are introduced to the child before they participate in having the child in this terrestrial timeline, or did they already have the child in another lifetime, and in this lifetime they're just being introduced to the child. You see, we don't really understand this kind of this how these agreements function from the filter of time, and we can't understand them. The individual has to understand those agreements. So when we think of the child being implanted, usually these implants won't cause a lot of harm. What causes more harm for the child is abusive parents, abusive environment, and parents that are not prepared to have children, number one, or don't do the shadow work in order to hold space for their children, also participate in the child having implants that can be traumatic. So that's something that the parent has to also take a lot of accountability for, because again, the karma, or let's say the cause and effect of the child going through this phase of suffering, is directly related to the actions and choices of the parents. And what we are finding in these groups is that contact actually also passes down generations, meaning the groups that certain bloodlines interact with. So let's say, for example, you're from South America, the majority of your contact is with these reptilians, Pleiadians, Venusians, and so your grandmother was in contact with them, you were, and then it goes down to your child, and your child then is born with memory or some kind of memory or remembering some of these experiences, and it isn't until years later that they share the information and they recognize a lot of the same characters that they've been interacting with in the bloodline. So that being said, I don't, the number one thing to changing the course of the impact of this kind of interference from parasitism, from parasitic interactions, is to do the spiritual work to change your frequency, because everything that we encounter is a result of our own creation, our own manifestation. That is the law of the universe. So in reality, there is no victims or people that participate in their own self-destruction has to be accounted for. So anytime that we are ignorant to our understanding of our spiritual work, that we're falling asleep, that we're attached to the material realm, that we are easily deviated by our desires and our pleasures, they can always take us in the direction of making choices that affect our entire bloodline in a negative manner. And I see that a lot when we start reviewing these contactees.
Wow, that's pretty deep right there. Very, very deep. Okay, so with the implants, are they able to track you anywhere at any time? Okay, whether it's alien, whether it's military?
The military does have its limitations from the terrestrial perspective, and they do abide by the laws of dark magic. Okay, so what is that? That's the inversion of nature or the manipulation of nature. Anything that is, parasitic is usually manipulating something. So this manipulation can be an implant also that is agreed to by the host because of their state of unconsciousness. The moment that the host becomes conscious that they have an implant, they can dissolve, remove, shift, and usually it interferes in the communication of the implant with these military technologies. And usually what ends up happening is that their military activity starts to rise again. Usually they won't have any activity, and then they become aware of their implants. They start changing their frequency. Things start changing because that awareness changes it, because we are consciousness. And so usually they'll start having some more military activity. So for that reason, what I have seen is that when you practice cloaking or high-level energy techniques of energetic hygiene, these military from the terrestrial groups, they will not be able to connect with you. They cannot, because their technology is limited. It's very limited. And usually a person that can master their energetic field by cloaking themselves. Okay, there's been many stories of contactees that have been downloaded cloaking techniques, both energetic, spiritual, and also bioelectrical. They create them, the cloaking techniques. You just imagine a field around your body that's super, super thick. You imagine you have mirrors, or you imagine that you're invisible to the being, and you break the contractual agreements every single night, and you no longer have these interactions with them. So it's part of this human experience, which is, we're learning how to transcend the illusion of separation, essentially. So it's all part of that. So they can track to the point in which we continue to sustain the vibrational frequency that makes it a cozy home for the implants and the parasites to interact with us. Now, there's another element that I forgot to mention, which Dirty Filth reminded me of, because he was talking about clones. And that's another really huge aspect of the implant element, because a lot of the extractions that are done from humans, but from these MyLab experience, biological extractions, are utilized to create clone-like entities that are very easily manipulated. And the clones can either be fractalizations of the soul that are then manipulated in alter realms, or they can be terrestrial biological organisms. And literally, we have like doppelgangers of ourselves around the world, which speaks to our genetic lineage. Actually, there's a theory that we all have another human that looks exactly like us, or maybe a couple of them, or 4 or 5 of humans in this earth that are exactly like us. So it kind of speaks to like this matrix architecture and our participation in it. But I think these implants play a role in the kind of information that is being utilized in the gene pool of the human race. So so they can track. Now the other part of it is that, again, you learn how to cloak yourself and they won't have access to you. Now, interdimensionally, I used to think that implants were only negative, but when I understood that actually some implants are healing, these are things that aid conscious awakening for the human. It literally activates or sustains or expands a positive state in the human that allows to create an environment for healing, for channeling, for opening. Some channelers that are channeling specific information for certain groups, they have a lot of implants because they are having like very specific exchanges. In my personal opinion, I feel that this is also a parasitic exchange, maybe on a high level. So I think it's important for the human to always try to come back to the 0 point, to the point where we are connected with our source, that we are fully sovereign of this physical body as much as we can be, as we become one with the whole. We become a harmonious reconnection with the whole. So when you become one, there is no separation. There's nothing to run away from. There's nothing to dissolve. You just become in harmony with everything, and then nobody's suffering. So this is the goal, I think, the spiritual goal and the interdimensional goal.
All right, let's get to some audience questions here. Starting off with Simon, who is asking, Geraldine, I do a great dealing with my stuff at night during meditation. I have an issue keeping mindful during the day. What would be your advice?
Yeah, so mindfulness during the day is, something that is really important right now, because as I was mentioning, that this year is basically the gateway into a new era that we're experiencing, where things in the world are going to change pretty rapidly. Certain old systems are falling apart very quickly. Religious systems, scientific concepts are going to change. The basis of our understanding of the architecture of reality is changing drastically. So we have to prepare for that, in that we begin to detach from all of the attachments to identities, any kind of attachments. If you're attached to your identity, if you're attached to material things, if you're attached to being in survival, if you're attached to even religious concepts or just concepts and theories in general, you will suffer a lot in the next 5-6 years, because those things are going to start crumbling down. And when we're attached to things and it's taken away, we get into existential crises. So this will be highlighted big time for humanity. And the antidote to that is to practice coming into a state of detachment from things, not identifying yourself with things. And I believe that that's one of the most powerful tools that we can use in our mindfulness practice. Now, how do we do that? Now, most of our attachment is because of survival. We feel that we have to hold on to certain identities and states of being in order to survive. So we have to work with our relationship with survival. And it can be anything. It can be you going to grab coffee in the morning. That can be a survival mechanism. It can be a coping mechanism, which is a survival mechanism. So just try to take a look at how many of your behaviors are coming from a place of survival. The more you have, the more difficult it is for you, more challenging it is for you to even be mindful, okay? Because your entire life is structured on survival. Okay, so you want to identify what are those survival mechanisms that you're doing that are just making life intolerable and a challenge, and help yourself gently come into compassionate, loving, need to love yourself in order to be able to be compassionate and choose things that are healthy, constructive, and supportive to you, which means not in survival, but a harmonious state of being. Okay, so what does that look like? It looks like a regulated nervous system. So that means that we have less triggers, less stress, less inflammation, less illness in the body. And your mind, how you cultivate that regulated nervous system, is that you sustain your mind from going to the past or going to the future. So most of the survival mechanisms are because we are thinking of what's going to happen next. Am I going to live? Am I going to die? Am I going to get hurt? Am I going to suffer? That's our mind the whole day. We have to redirect it. We have to redirect it into the present moment. So right here, right now, I have a roof over my head. I have food. I'm warm. I'm safe right now. Okay, so if in every moment of your day, you force your brain to redirect from the attention of the stressful problems, things that you're having, into the present moment, part of you is going to think, oh my gosh, I'm going to ignore it and it's going to get worse. That's what you're going to want to think. But actually, what will happen is that once you do that a couple days, boy, will you come into clarity. You will come into first peace. You will come into some clarity, and you will be super productive. So actually, you're going to get a lot more done in the present moment than you did by avoiding those things. And this is how we cultivate mindfulness. So you can actually really help yourself and change your life that way.
Okay, follow up from Simon. He says, I am attached to my own self-preservation. I can't let my shoulders down.
Right. Exactly, love. So that's exactly the thing. And we're all dealing with that because we have compartmentalized our life and we only focus on the future or the past. And that just becomes fear. We're just living in fear all the time. So, this is where we take our spirituality into the next level of maturity. Okay, spiritual maturity means that now we are really being accountable for our own self-destructive behavior. Because actually what we're doing is that we become our abusers, the abusers that we're trying to run away from. We actually end up abusing ourselves all the time, every moment of our day, because we keep running the abuser through the mind. mind. And we keep intoxicating ourselves. We self-destruct with coping mechanisms like alcohol, drugs, smoking, whatever it is, not sleeping, all of these things that really just, they destroy us. So spiritual maturity means to understand the consequences of your actions. Okay. And in the present moment, you can find harmony and peace.
Okay, let's move to another question here. This one comes from Big Tex. Jessica Jones is a good friend of this show and hosts one of our weekend shows on YouTube. Said that Tex was given an implant to amp up his sixth sense, basically. How do I locate it?
Okay, well, looking at your body, your multidimensional body, I mean, the implant is actually like right here in the back of the head, but you see, this is very interesting. How do I explain this? This implant, it's kind of like a self creation. Like this is something that you manifested. Like you wanted this. You wanted this shift. You wanted this healing. And so we make agreements with these beings in order to support our evolution, our spiritual evolution, because you are them in the future and they are you in this present moment. Okay. So there's kind of you guys, it's one working together. So my advice to you, first of all, is to sit with your ability, this ability, and begin to cultivate your sixth sense. Okay, practice it daily. And what will happen is that the veil will begin to thin out and you'll be able to see this ability enhanced in your body. And when implants are put in to enhance abilities, it's not actually a technology. It is actually just a clearing of blockages that is actually occurring. So what the beings did was to clear blockages to support you, perhaps. And remember, this is you. You're doing this. So ultimately, you have cleared blockages in your space that allow you to enhance your sixth sense. But if you don't cultivate the vibrational frequency and you don't practice that sixth sense and exercise it, you will lose it, right? So this is something that we can't, it's not like a crutch. There's a mechanism to this. We have to hold a frequency. So practice and always look into the layers of your body. You can follow my YouTube channel. I teach I have videos on how to read your body. Every layer of your body holds information, and you might find a lot of implants. I find implants in my clients' bodies all the time by looking at the fields. And so it'll feel literally like stagnant energy. It'll look like an object. It'll look like a dark thing there. Just clear it out daily. Energetic hygiene is absolutely essential. And this is also a follow-up answer for the last question. An easy way to do it is by clearing your energetic field every day. Okay, that's an energetic trick to do to help you. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's continue on here. I think we can squeeze one more in. And this one comes from Thomas. How important is chakra balancing for the health of mind and body?
Thank you for that question, Thomas. And thank you, Jason, for that super chat. So sweet.
We got 90 seconds.
So it is absolutely imperative because the multidimensional body is where we store thought forms, which means all of the ancestral trauma that you're holding on to is influencing your choices. Just like a stomach biome parasite tells you to eat sugar all day and keeps you rising high and low, the same thing, these blockages are basically manipulating you to do things that are self-destructive. So we want to clear them all the time. Are we up on time?
Oh, we got about a minute.
Oh, good. Okay, good. So my invitation to you is to clear the layers of your body one by one. Okay, so first, remember, each chakra is an entire field of your body. We need to clear them. So sit with your root chakra. What does it look like? The majority of us, our chakras are broken. We have holes in the chakras, parts that are contracted. So a contracted chakra is a broken field. Okay, so we have to rebuild the field with our awareness and be aware of the cords that we have in the body, the blockages that needs to be cleared out daily. Okay, so morning before you get up and night before you go to sleep is my invitation to you. It will change your life. And people that meditate for years, like Buddhist monks, their root chakra, solar and sacral, are shrunk down. Okay, why? Because the first three chakras are the connection filter to the matrix. Okay, so we got to learn how to control those.
Geraldine Orozco, we have her till the top of the hour on Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. We continue with Geraldine. Find her on her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Stay tuned. Wonderful, wonderful work here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great question.
Let's see what Phil drew for us tonight. The Cylinder Volant de 1905, Cardiff, Wales. Le Cylinder Volant.
I'm not even going to attempt to say
That'd be 1905. Yeah,
I trust you on that one, Dave.
1905. Yeah, Le Cylinder Volant de 1905. I think.
Oh, they don't have
Hi,
Italian
Adventures with
poutines.
Beth and Lord William. How you guys doing? Excuse me. Bim Jim. Hey, it's been a while. How you been doing, buddy?
So, Dave, apparently this was a orange glowing cylindrical object had appeared over Cardiff in Wales in 1905.
I like it.
And so I just kind of went with something I thought was going to be a really quick draw, but turned out a little bit longer than I expected.
Looks great, dude.
I could sell it to hippies, I guess.
Great.
It's a cylinder, not a ice cream drumstick, by the way. Volant equals flying. Nice. Learned something new today. I'm not a linguist, by the way.
The Flying Cylinder of 1905. Question is, why in Cardiff, Wales would they name it French?
It was from a French magazine. I can't remember what the name was. Like Ufology magazine or something.
Right.
It probably came with a twisty mustache. I can provide you with the link in future. Oh, the cats are getting rowdy, Dave.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Don't forget, Dave.
Yes.
Reno next year. That's going to be the 5th year anniversary of me drawing cartoons for you.
May 10th through 12th. So put that, if you're a Spaced Out Radio fan, put May 10th through 12th on your calendar for the 3rd annual SOR fan party. And we want to see you all there. We're trying to work out the details with the hotel here as we speak, and then once we do that, then we will add in the hotel and everything. It's going to be fun in the Reno sun.
What if it rains those 4 days or whatever?
Then we'll be inside. if you're okay with
Well, we'll be all right. We have a blob hanging out here.
Big thank you tonight to Jason, CS, Simon times 2, Big Tex, Charles, W. Decker times 2, make that Simon times 3, Cat Chaser, and Debster for the great super chats. All right. And we really appreciate that. You can now join the Space Travelers Club, and that is in the description below, right here. The description below, and just click on it. We got more stuff coming as well. Yes, May 10th to 12th in Reno, Vanessa. And don't forget, you can also do some shopping on our website, spacedoutradio.com. And here we go. We passed the halfway point of the mighty SOR tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you with us each and every night as we bring you the best woo we can deliver. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can check out all of our podcasts as well by going to any major podcast outlet. It is free for you. Why? Because we love things being free. We really do. iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we are on it. Also, our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join our Space Travelers Club on Patreon. Final time tonight, we say hello to Geraldine Orozco from Bay Area Meditation in San Francisco, California, and her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. We are currently taking some audience questions. Geraldine, welcome back.
Hi.
Ready for more?
Yes, I'm excited for more.
Let's go to toe tag. What alien bloodline comes from Europe or Africa? For example, Palladians.
Yeah, so it's actually not so much about the bloodline, because we would need to recurse the entire history of human origin. But in reality, this is how I see it. From the creation of this manifestation of three-dimensional realm, in order to experience separation, the first creation of an organism was its most primal form of separation. Okay, so essentially the concept is that when the archons essentially created these Anunnaki beings, but also Draco bloodlines, dragon bloodlines. They were one of the first origin sources of genetic code that kind of implemented into this Earth's plane. And then there was, from their descendants came different species. And of course, from the Draco bloodlines, the dragon, Draco, came different animal kingdom species, such as the lyrans, cat-like feline, mammal-type species, bird-like species, and then evolving into the human. We can understand our human evolution just by looking at a zygote development in the womb and how it looks. It starts out looking like a little tadpole, and then it begins to grow the vertebrae, and it goes through an evolutionary process that all living organisms on this earth also copy. So you kind of have there the evolutionary picture of our entire human race, including interdimensional species. And so what that means is that we actually hold all of the species in our genetic code, because we are a hybridized race as a result of the combinations of these different races from interdimensional beings that create and evolved into the human race today. So what happens is that um, because we have one origin, now we're talking about humans, regular science, biology, we have one origin. Biologically, our DNA traces back to an origin, and that origin point, you will see the root races of draconian bloodlines, and you will see and I proved this now because I actually saw it with my own eyes and studied it while I was in Europe this last couple of weeks. The traces of draconian bloodlines in absolutely everything. The symbolism of draconian bloodlines is in Versailles. It's in the Louvre. It's in the architecture of the buildings, the churches, and the temples across all of the UK, France, Spain, Portugal. Okay, all of these ancient structures, the most profound, important ley lines hold the history of these ancestral races that combined with these reptilian draconian origins. Okay, if you go to Asia, you're also going to see another bloodline, the dragon bloodline. You go to South America, you're going to see the snake bloodline. And then we have bird bloodlines across the board, which is the Anunnaki bloodlines, Osiris, ancient Egyptian core bloodlines that were also combined as a hybridized race. So for Europe in particular, there's a lot of traces of this. And another thing is the chimera. The chimera was the mythical creature that combined all these different animal types. Well, that's the hybrid. That's the hybrid, right? And so that's a representation of the hybrid race. You see a lot of chimeras in fiction. Religious depictions of Christ or the baby coming into conceptions. Anyway, I could talk about that for hours, but to answer your question, it's not so much about that. It has to do with who is your ancestral bloodline, okay? And you need to meditate on this to look at your past lives. You need to understand your own ancestral lineage. Where are you from? If your origin is European and African in your bloodline, then you want to take a look at what are the main traces. What parts of Africa do you come from? Because there's a lot of draconian bloodlines there as well. Major histories of Anunnaki bloodlines down that way as well. And so take a look at, your ancestral lineages, where they come from, what are the primary traumas that you have in your bloodline. They will also help you connect to the kind of interdimensional beings that you have in your DNA. And Pleiadians and all of these other groups that are not draconian or reptilian, we all have a combination of those. Most of us have Christ consciousness or some kind of ascended bloodline in our bloodline, and these are the traces of these Pleiadian bloodlines. So yeah, you want to take a look at that. Okay.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go over to John, who is asking, have you ever met a person with an implant?
Yes. I actually work with a lot of contactees in my support group that do have implants. And of course, I had implants myself and met with them in person at conferences and talked about it. Also talked with Stephen Colburn, who was actually part of the film with Dr. Lear, right? Patient 19 or Patient 13. Do you remember that film, Dave? The documentary that was made? Patient 17 about the implants. And at the conferences, clients that would come to me, people that would come to me looking for help with their implants, Stephen Colburn would support in removing them or working with that information. So, so definitely a lot of people, and they don't want to go public because they're afraid of it. But we need to talk about it. It's something we have to talk about openly.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go to Rick. Rick is asking, Geraldine, do you believe in reincarnation then?
Yes, I absolutely do believe in reincarnation from the concept that we are experiencing simultaneous timelines in this moment. Okay, so um, right now we have the concept of past and future lives, but every single moment in your life, you have a vibrational frequency that allows you to access specific past life memory and access to specific future timelines. Okay, so that being said, the work that you do now and the changes that you're making in your genetic code, your ancestral history, will change the course as you move forward in this lifetime, or you will just be repeating ancestral programs. So what happens with reincarnation is that if you are in sleeping in dormant state and you don't do any shadow work to clear up that trauma, ancestral trauma, all you're going to do is just repeat the ancestral programs over and over, and that's the reincarnation cycle. You also repeat interdimensional contact, as I mentioned earlier, and that can be participating in hybrid programs or some kind of parasitic programs. So we have to wake up consciousness in waking state, and we have to wake up consciousness in dream state, because essentially these two have to merge into one timeline, one simultaneous timeline of awareness. We have to be aware when we're awake as much as we are when we sleep, and the brain waves shift completely when we come into that level of consciousness. And at the time of death, what happens is that your vortex is spinning really, really fast because we are a vortex. The more debris that you clean up from your genetic code, the faster your vibrational frequency is. And there is such thing as a productive death. You literally implode in order to access another octave of vibrational frequency that allows you to enter into another octave of creation. And that is when supposedly you are not reincarnating into this terrestrial plane again, or in the same family lineage. That's to answer that question.
Thank you for that. Let's go over to, let's see here. Susie B is asking, Geraldine, is it possible to tell what alien race places implants behind the eye?
From the cases of working with people that have implants behind the eyes, very interesting. Usually these are healing implants. These are not monitoring implants. Usually they will not be put behind the eye, and usually they're not uh, meant to interfere in anything. Usually these are for healing or supporting somehow. So we want to understand, and I want to also mention something. I had a client that had epilepsy, and one day she has an experience, and then they put an implant here behind the eye, the ocular system behind the eye, which actually helped stop her seizures that she was having. Okay. However, when she went through some trauma and she went down into a low vibrational frequency, everything came back. And what she learned from that experience was that she had to sustain a certain emotional balance in order to activate the healing properties of this implant that was meant to support her. Otherwise, it supported her, it counter supported her, it magnified any kind of troubles that she was having. So this is something that I want you to notice. And so the support that you're receiving is essentially an agreement that we make. What I want you to try to think back to is, do you remember the experience or the dreams that you may have had when the implant was put into your body? What did you see? What did you experience? If it's a military kind of experiences or something more negative, usually people experience being in very closed, dark, underground type feeling places. When it's supposed to be an interdimensional being, or high vibrational being, usually there's a lot of light in the room, in that it's very extremely minimalistic, highly advanced technology. And the way that the implant is inserted, usually it's through some kind of technology that the human never saw before. The difference is that there usually isn't side effects that are chemical. I wonder what that sound is. Do you hear that sound, Dave?
I hear that sound too. I don't know.
Whoa, it's so strange. Yeah. But anyway, so so it's not just one race, Susie. It's very specific to you and your experience. And now it stopped, Dave, the sound.
Okay.
Yeah. What I would suggest, Susie, one way to find out is through hypnotherapy. Okay. Once it's through hypnotherapy, or you go into deep meditation and access the memories and then find out who they are, because it can be any number. Hope that answers that question.
All right, let's continue on here. Let us go over to Simon. Are all of the crop circles made by the same groups of ETs?
Yeah, awesome question. And no, they are not, definitely. The kind of shapes that they use to create something that I saw, I was shown by these beings, is that the shapes, because shape is vibrational language. So if it's a geometric shape, usually it will speak to the dimension in which the beings originated in order to create this crop circle. It's very important to pay attention to the kind of shapes, numerology involved in the creation of the crop circle, location, direction, and what is it called? The coordinates of where it's located as well. All of these are codes that help us understand what they are. And this is usually how you can tell the difference between a fake one and a real one, that usually a real crop circle is incredibly complex in its perfection beyond just the imagery or the design. It's the placement, it's the location, it's an entire communication. The entire orchestration of the crop circle is a communication. So you have to learn how to read that. And there are many groups that place information there. I tend to believe that the communications are from supportive groups that are helping humanity, not only humanity, but the planet Earth. Because when these crop circles, and that's why there's a lot of them that are found in the UK. The UK is the heart chakra of the Earth, and it's one of the largest magnetic fields of this planet that interconnects as a runway system to all of the other energy points. So these are like codes of information that it's like inserted into this grid of energy that then is put out throughout the entire world. It's just like when you're put in something into your body and it starts to do something in your body. Same thing. Okay, so the beauty of the crop circles is that they help bring information that help humanity move ahead, move forward.
There's that weird sound.
Yes, I don't know what it is. I don't have any weird.
Sounds like a car's brakes.
Yeah, or I thought like an airplane or something. I thought it was an airplane.
Yeah, I don't have anything open in the background.
But when you pick up the headset, it stops for some reason. So maybe it's just next to the speaker or something. I don't know.
So weird.
Yeah.
So weird. I'm blaming the aliens for that.
Okay. Let's blame it on them. Yes.
Let's continue on here. Let's go to Aaron. What are your thoughts on poltergeists? I've researched this area, but still pretty vague.
Poltergeists. Well, I'm not very versed in the paranormal perspective per se, because I think this is a very specific area of study, and I haven't really studied specifically what they're referring to here, but what I know is that anomalies that happen in our physical realm are direct communications of the non-physical realm, and they're usually very deeply interconnected with the experiencer. So there is an element of participation of the experiencer in creating this kind of anomaly. Even if you just went there for the first time, let's say you go to a house that's haunted or something, or you experience these kinds of anomalies, you are deeply interconnected in the creation of that. And usually I find connections, ancestral connections with either the people that have existed in that space, the energies that exist in that space, or ancestral lineages that exist in that space. There seems to be a cooperation. So, yeah, I think that these kinds of phenomena is an invitation for our mastery of interdimensional abilities and our higher faculties. Like, we really need to train them and begin to look at things not so much as some crazy phenomena, but it should become the norm that we interact with interdimensional phenomena and try to remove the element of fear or helplessness from these experiences, because as this veil is thinning in these next few years, they will become something more of a norm for the collective. So they are anomalies that wake up the consciousness of the experiencer. It's just like the law of accident, in order to bring them, push them violently into the awareness of the interdimensional aspect of themselves. One other quick point that I will mention, that what I've noticed historically in my hypnotherapies is that people that experience poltergeist, they actually have a lot of history with dark magic in their past lives, or manipulation of nature in their past lives. It doesn't have to be that they're witches necessarily, but they have a lot of exercise in the arts of energy for many lifetimes. And in this lifetime, it's like an iteration of themselves, or an aspect of themselves that becomes conscious and creates this anomaly in the field, in the force field, for them to remember that. So yeah, just some thoughts on that.
All right, let's go to Jenny. Geraldine, is it possible that the hybrids are created from our own reincarnation? Or for our own?
For our reincarnation, yeah. Excellent question. Very complex question. Um, yes, this is exactly why they are created, Jenny. Okay, and the reason why is this: because the hybridization program is very specific, it's very local to this third dimensional matrix. Okay, and so what does that mean? It is for the sustainability of this matrix. Hybrids that are created are essentially the use of a soul, the anchoring of soul life force into an organic organism that comes into the three-dimensional realm. It is the marriage between the soul, the infinite potential, into ancestral genetic information in order to anchor that soul, which means that they open a portal from the infinite that feeds life into the matrix. That's what we are. We feed life into the matrix. How we feed, or what we do with the life that we bring into this matrix, is up to us. There is always a harmonious balance to the matrix. There is a yin and the yang. There's however many souls are conscious, there are equally asleep. Okay, so this kind of dualistic expression is balanced out by the hybrids that are created, which is why there are two lines of programs that are created: parasitic lines and really high vibration lines. The intention is that every soul genetic bloodline that is created by a hybrid has the potential, the opportunity to either heal certain bloodlines and enhance them, or to continue the self-destructive pattern. And this is interesting because we think the world is it, but actually, there are many other planets that are also seeded with life, utilizing our genetics. We're not the only human Earth planet. There are, hundreds, thousands, billions of stars, of course, that are holding our genetics. And just because we cannot see them with our human eye doesn't mean that they don't exist. They're existing in other dimensional layers. And so it is the sustainability of information in order to experience different phases, different dimensional layers of potential creation. That's what they are essentially made for. And some this is why bringing a child, a human child, which is part of the hybridization program as well, is incredible, huge responsibility. The way that we create the child is important through the intercourse, through the shadow work that we do. All of that plays a role in the kind of soul and whether the implosion of that soul is a big implosion or a small implosion, a big vortex or a little vortex. And that pretty much defines the life of that soul. So yeah, there's so much to this that I would love to touch on, but I'll stop there. Thank you for that question, Jenny.
Geraldine, and it's time for us to say goodnight to you
Yeah.
as well. Thank you for another wonderful episode of The Spiritual You. We'll talk to you next month.
It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you for your amazing questions, everyone. Have an amazing week. And yeah, see you soon.
See you soon. GeraldineOrozco.com is Geraldine's website. Coming up next, Among the Missing with Steve Stockton. And then Robin Haynes is here with us with the Cryptid Report. We will be back with the final hour of Spaced Out Radio next. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you so much, Dave. I'll see you soon.
We will talk soon. Take care.
Bye.
I apologize to those whose questions I missed. I know there was a few of them. Excuse me. But we will get to them very, very soon. And I'm going to take a quick break here. And we'll be right back, guys. Jessica Davenport, welcome back. What are we doing here? Oh, yeah, we're running a radio show. Hi, Sage Necro. How are you? Yes, Dave is an alien. Hi, Sini. How are you? Okay. We got 1 minute to go here. So big thank you. More info on Reno is coming soon, May 12th or 10th to 12th in Reno for the 3rd annual SOR fan party. I was eating a Tums. That's what I just chewed on. All right. Edge them sideburns. I got my hair cut tomorrow, so it'll be good. All right. What else can I tell you? If you haven't joined the Space Travelers Club yet on Patreon, it's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So we'd appreciate that. More info is in the description below. If you're on YouTube, just type in SOR Space Travelers Club, Spaced Out Radio. It'll come up. And I want to say a big thank you to Deb, W. Decker ×2, Simon ×3, Cat Chaser, Big Tex, Charles, CS, and Jason for the great super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love. Don't forget you can shop at our store and our website. And here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and the SOR Space Travelers Club on Patreon. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and once again, you can join our Space Travelers Club on Patreon. Okay, the Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Batholith. Batholith is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam says the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. It is that time of the night again where we bring in Steve Stockton from the YouTube channel Among the Missing for another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Cave guide Joy Lyons shared her encounter in an area of the cave known as the church. She says, quote, "All of a sudden, I felt a very strong, firm push to my right shoulder. It was like a shove, a playful shove. It was hard enough that I stepped forward and said, 'Cut it out,' because I thought it was David, a fellow tour guide. About the time I said 'cut it out,' Red, another tour guide, lit his lantern, and I could see David very obviously silhouetted to the right of the group. He had walked up in the darkness and was standing by that group. I wouldn't say I panicked, but I was definitely upset. I committed the big sin of turning on my flashlight and flashed it everywhere. There was no one behind me, no one on the dirt piles, no one on the hill. This all happened in a couple of seconds. There was no time for anyone to have gone very far. I still ponder it to this day. It was a very real thing I experienced." End quote. Another national park guide, Carrie Woods, had a similar encounter as Joy Lyons. According to Carrie, we were the first tour to enter the cave at the Methodist Church. I was at the light switch. I heard footsteps coming toward me from Booth's amphitheater. I tried to ignore it, but it kept getting closer. Then I got shoved on my right shoulder. As I looked back, no one was there, at least no one I could see. Additionally, tour guide Jamie Gray had a similar experience as the others. She says, I was by the light switch in Little Brat. I was standing in the darkness waiting to hear the key phrase to hit the lights back on, when all of a sudden a hand reached and grabbed my left forearm. I immediately turned the light on, and no one was anywhere around. Unexplained sounds disrupted caver Michael Nardacci and his research partner while they were on a lunch break. They had accompanied 2 paleontologists and a photographer into Marion Avenue, a cave passage near the Snowball Dining Room, the lunch stop for visitors on the Grand Avenue tour. Michael and his companions separated from the scientists to do historical research. When the pair returned, Michael recounted this story. I just finished a can of fruit cocktail in a Heath bar and was washing it down with a gulp from my canteen when suddenly, from just around a bend in the passage ahead of us, came heart-stopping sounds. Bang! Bang! What the hell was that? We said in tandem. This noise was not produced by a couple of rocks suddenly falling from the ceiling. We know this because in the numbing few minutes after hearing the sounds, we experimented with different shapes and sizes of rocks dropped from varying heights onto packed sediment or bedrock. The sounds we heard were bangs, concentrated, powerful, suggestive of purpose, and perhaps of fury. For several years after the event, whenever we could meet at Cave Research Foundation expeditions, one of us would invariably greet the other by saying, I didn't hear anything that day, did you? And the other would echo, nope, not a thing. Although some park rangers dismiss these stories as folklore, many visitors believe that something eerie and otherworldly lurks in the depths of Mammoth Cave. For those brave enough to explore its dark recesses, the cave provides a thrilling adventure and the potential to encounter the supernatural. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, there is no denying that a trip to Mammoth Cave will leave you with a sense of wonderment and awe at the mysteries beneath the surface of this extraordinary natural wonder. Know before you go. Here's some things to know before visiting Mammoth Cave National Park. Mammoth Cave National Park offers various cave tours catering to different interests, abilities, and age groups. While some cave tours are relatively easy and suitable for all ages and fitness levels, others require more physical exertion and are not recommended for visitors with mobility issues or health concerns. It's important to note that all cave tours in Mammoth Cave need visitors to wear sturdy shoes and bring a light jacket, as the temperature inside the cave is a constant 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Visitors should also be prepared to walk, climb stairs, and navigate uneven terrain. Ensuring visitor safety is a top priority at Mammoth Cave National Park. Here are some of the safety rules and guidelines that visitors should follow, according to park personnel. Number 1, stay on designated trails. Visitors should stay on designated trails and follow all posted signs and markers. Venturing off trail can be dangerous and may harm the cave's delicate ecosystem. Number 2, wear appropriate footwear. The cave floor can be slippery and uneven, so visitors should wear sturdy, comfortable shoes with good traction. Number 3, bring appropriate clothing. As stated, the cave's temperature is a constant 54 degrees Fahrenheit, 12 degrees Celsius, so visitors should bring a light jacket or sweater. Number 4, follow lighting guidelines. Visitors should not touch or tamper with any lighting fixtures, which can damage the cave and create safety hazards. Number 5, avoid touching rock formations. Visitors should not touch or climb on any cave formations, such as stalactites or stalagmites. These formations are delicate and can take thousands of years to form. Number 6, do not litter. Visitors should pack out all trash and dispose of it in designated receptacles. Number 7, follow ranger instructions. Visitors should follow any park ranger or staff instructions to the T, including safety and evacuation procedures. By following these safety rules and guidelines, visitors can enjoy the beauty and wonder of Mammoth Cave National Park while minimizing the risk of injury or harm to themselves or the cave's delicate ecosystem. In conclusion, Mammoth Cave is an extraordinary natural wonder with immense cultural, scientific, and ecological importance. The cave system boasts stunning geological formations, a rare ecosystem, and an extensive history, making it a valuable site for researchers, tourists, and conservationists. Mammoth Cave allows visitors to witness the awe-inspiring beauty of nature and perhaps a ghost or two, while gaining insights into the complex relationships between geology, biology, and human heritage. Consistent preservation efforts ensure that future generations will cherish this remarkable subterranean realm.
Thank you to Steve Stockton for coming on in once again from Among the Missing on YouTube to share another creepy story with us. And if you want more, just head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing and check it out for yourself. All right. From the missing to the mysterious in the mountains, we go to Robin Haynes on the Cryptid Report. Super Duke, the Cryptid Report with Super Duke. All right, filling in for a vacationing Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. We got Robin Haynes here. And Robin, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you here, my dear.
Well, thank you. I love being here. Felt bad I missed everybody last week, so I'm glad to be back.
Well, you know what? Old Davey needed a vacation, so
that's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I tell you, the areas where I was driving through, though, you could tell it was Sasquatch heaven.
Yeah.
But a lot of that area this year got hit really hard with forest fires. So I'm hoping the big guys are okay, or they were at least had the ability to move. But, it's funny, like during that drive between my house and Whistler, British Columbia, I have to go through this beautiful, majestic mountains where the lakes are literally look like Caribbean blue.
Mm-hmm.
Water and you some of the trees in that area, I don't think I'm lying when I would say those trees are probably close to 200 feet tall.
Yeah, that's a beautiful area. It's been many years since I've been there, but it is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, just a heavenly place. And I was looking, I'm not going to lie, I was looking. And
look up.
Because
they get up in these trees. People don't realize how often, like we look at our level and we look on the ground, we look all around. A lot of times they're up in the trees. We had this huge tree in the back of our property, and I went back there, and they were always hanging out back there. And I went back there one day, and you could see where they would put their hands on the big branches, and it would literally peel the bark off. And you could see where their hands were all the way up that tree where their hands and feet would go. And they went up there, and they had the best time up in those trees. And I thought, you know what? I need to start paying more attention. And I would occasionally, not a lot, but I would occasionally catch them moving through the tops of the trees.
Wow. Well, are they cloaked at that time, or are they?
I've seen them. No, I've seen them in flesh and blood up in the tops of the trees. I did see at one point, it looked like a juvenile, in that predator form, which is a shimmer, not a full cloak. And it was up there, and I did see a baby one time, but I saw more times than not, they were in physical form up there. You don't realize how high up they can get because they're so big. You would think it would tear the tree down. And it's just amazing to me. But on that tree, we literally saw physical evidence of where they would put their feet and their hands to climb up that tree. And they had right next to it was an old hot wire fence, and it wasn't on anymore. It was just the wires. And they would come from the next door neighbor's property across his field into mine. And they took this is how smart they are. They took the wire from the hot wire, lifted it up, and hooked it over one of the branches. So it left a big opening where they could walk through, and you saw nothing but footprints through there. And then they would go climb up in that tree, and that tree was massive. And they would get up all the way up in that tree. There were times that I'd walk back there and you would hear them jumping down on the ground from the tree to take off.
No kidding. Robin, I want to ask you, out of all the questions I've asked you, we've never really got into this. So I'm curious, what makes a hot spot?
I think, people start calling them hot spots if they have a sighting, or there's more than one sighting, or maybe there's, activity there. Basically, a hot spot is an area that certain clans may gather. There's a lot of activity there. There's a lot of sightings there. And, I was thinking about this today. I really caution people. Like, I know everybody, when they see him, they get excited and they're like, yeah, I saw him here and I saw him there. And I really caution people to be careful because, number one, anytime we see them, in my opinion, it's a blessing. You can see them 100 times. I've seen hundreds of them over my lifetime. Every time is like seeing him for the first time. But we get so excited, and I'm the same way. I'm not knocking anybody at all. We get so excited about it, we tend to give out locations. And that's such a disaster because a few things can go on. Number one, their families go through there. Like, how would you like somebody to put a sign above your house that says anybody can stop here? It's a rest area. And this is your private home with your family and your children. And then everybody finds out about it and they all come and they visit you. So we have that aspect where their families or the other members of their clans may visit that area. That's why it's a hot spot. And a hot spot is just an active area. And now we give out locations. I mean, a lot of people are careful, but we accidentally, on purpose, whatever, will give out these locations and they get overran with them. And then what happens is they feel threatened and they have to fight back. Or even if they're not fighting back, they're scaring somebody and they end up paying the cost, not us. It was our mistake. You can go to these areas that are hot spots and you can do the research and you can interact and you can have these experiences. But just please be careful when you're, like, name a town or a neighboring town. I always, go to a neighboring town. Something so it's not as specific. And the other thing is when you take photos, and I don't know if they still do this, Dave, because the cameras have changed over the years, but I do know like 8 to 10 years ago, when you would take a picture, there's a location in that picture. You can set your camera to not have the location put in that photo. Even if you can't see it, it has something to do with the photo itself. And if you have certain programs, you can track a location. Just, I know it sounds really ridiculous, but please be careful because it's not just other people wanting to see them. The government hunts them down actively. And what goes on with them once the government gets them is horrific. And you have people that are on the kill teams that want to kill them. So just be cautious when, give it a big area so it's not so isolated as to help the bad guys find them.
Right. No, and I can understand that, okay? Because you don't want to attract a lot of people to their areas, okay? Because if, like, in our area, there's maybe 8 people who know about it, if that.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of them being my son, well, he wouldn't know how to get there, and,
Right.
But I look at areas also like Harrison Hot Springs in British
Mm-hmm.
Columbia, which has always been probably out of the volcanoes on the West Coast. Harrison Hot Springs is probably the most popular Bigfoot destination in
Yeah.
North America. I think we can all agree on that. And in the forest up there, I talking to one buddy of mine a few years ago where they have an area that they call the highway because every time they go there, there's tracks upon tracks upon
Yeah.
tracks. Okay. Are those rare or would you call that a hot spot?
I would call that a hot spot. I mean, a hot spot, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth, is an area that has lots of activity. So when you go and you're seeing multiple tracks and you're seeing multiple people have encounters, in my opinion, that is a hot spot. It's an area that has more than normal activity, where you're more than likely to have an encounter. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with going to those areas. But again, keep in mind that we're going there to interact with them. If we're lucky enough to have that interaction, that's phenomenal. But if we're not careful, we can also, bring in the wrong people or give away too much information. They are a type of people, it's a fact, but they're going to protect their families. They're going to protect their children as we would and should. but then we lead people there and then they get in trouble for it, you know. But there's nothing wrong with going to hotspot activity areas as long as it's a hotspot area where it's a relatively calm area where, and by that I mean the aggressive ones aren't there. You know, I know so many people that will say, I'm going to go to this area or that area, and yeah, it's dangerous, but at least I get interaction. Okay, if you survive it and you get to leave, then now you've had a bad experience, and that almost marks you, because once one knows you've had a bad experience, they all know. Or you can slow it down a little bit, maybe take a different approach to it, like just like you did, Dave. Look, you had phenomenal interaction. And you build on that, and you end up with a lifetime of experiences other than one bad one. You know, I mean, just because the old saying of just because you can doesn't mean you should is true. You want the good experiences because that will open up your horizons for a lifetime of positive experiences with them. You don't have to do it just in one shot just because you get excited and you're like, well, I'd rather have a bad one and see one than none at all. And again, the flip side of that coin is if that bad encounter happens because you're where you probably shouldn't be, then what is going to happen is they've done something and crossed that line. They're going to be hunted for it. And we were the ones that brought it to their doorstep. You know, so you just want to make sure. And again, there's nothing wrong with going to hotspot areas. Make sure it's one that has positive encounters or non-aggressive encounters. But also remember, be mindful of giving out too many locations.
Okay, so if you find one of these hot spots, if I'm out in the forest looking, what am I looking for to find a hot spot?
You're going to look for stick structures. You're going to look for footprints. You're going to listen for calls, wood knocks, anything that would be something that you would associate with them. When I go out into the woods, the first thing I do is I'm looking on the ground for tracks, and I'm looking for structures. Their structures are a form of communication. They're not just there to look pretty. They are a form of communication to other members of the clan as well as other clans. If they're communicating and they're leaving structures, you know they're around. So personally, those are the things that I look for when I first go out there. I'm listening with my ears for any type of movement. Am I being shadowed? Am I being followed? You know, is there wood knocks? Is there, you know, chatter? Any of those things you're going to want. But I mean, to just walk blindly in the woods, my first thing is always going to be look for those structures, look for those footprints.
And eliminate nature, not eliminate as in kill, but as possibilities. Eliminate what the natural area presents, whether
Exactly.
it's whether it's fauna, whether it's trees, always present. You know, like if you have a look, you can go into an area where there's a lot of fallen trees, but you may have had a 50-mile-an-hour windstorm
Yeah.
a couple nights previous that knocked down a bunch of deadfall.
Right. And when you're looking at these structures, remember they anchor and lock. Those are the key words to structures, anchor and lock. And by that, I mean, when they do these beautiful arches, they always, the top of the tree that they've bent down is always anchored. And by that, that means it's wound around a branch of something else. It has something on top of it, but it always has something that's holding the tip top of that tree down into the arch. So that's an anchor. A lock, as you go and you look through these structures, you will see where the branches will have been placed where it looks completely innocent and looks like deadfall. But when you go to try to wiggle it or do anything, it's actually locked into place to hold that structure exactly how they want it. Please don't mess with the structures. Like if you want to move it and wiggle it a little bit to see if it's locked, that's fine. You don't go and change their communication. Okay, because it messes things up, it pisses them off. And then what they're leaving that communication for is not getting the right communication. The other thing with these structures, and we've talked briefly about this before, not all of them, but quite a few of them have energy inside these structures, inside these arches, inside these teepees. And there have been at times, I've done it myself, and I've taken other people out in the field and done it with them. If you put your hand in there, in the middle of it, at the highest part, you can sometimes feel an energy flux. There have been people that put a light bulb in there and it actually went on. There have been people that have gone out and take those little meters and take it into those areas and they kick on. Now, I have a very good friend in the state of Michigan, and years ago, I was explaining the energy.
You know what, Robin? I apologize for cutting you off right there, but we are going to go to break here. We're going to get Robin to finish her thought, and then we got some audience questions for Robin tonight.
Sure.
Jam-packed final half hour of the Cryptid Report on Spaced Out Radio with Robin Hayes. Coming right at you. Robin Hayes.
Yeah, new name.
Hayes.
The new and improved. I'm going back to the maiden name. Yay.
Yay.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yes, good for you.
Yeah, I decided to go for the whole happiness thing. We'll see.
Well, happiness is a good thing.
I'm hoping. Gonna try it on. I have to be honest, Dave. I'm loving the hat.
I am kind of too. You know,
I love the hat.
I
It
have-
really, and you look good in it. Like, I'm a person, I look horrible in hats. I think they're adorable, but I look awful in a hat. Like, I should never be allowed to have one. I just got a brand new Jeep, and when we got the Jeep, they had all these Jeep hats, and I got one, and I look ridiculous. I'll never wear it. It's never going to happen. But
don't forget about the Jeep Wave.
oh, I'm telling you, I got a 2024 Jeep Wrangler Willie Edition.
Nice.
Yeah, my boss.
Door.
Yeah, my boss. I got a 4-door, and it's got the off-road package and all the bells and whistles and the big tires. And yeah, my boss got it for me and wanted me to make sure I could get off-road if I wanted to go out with the Bigfoots.
Nice. Now, you do know what the Jeep Wave is, right?
Isn't that when you first get him, you got to go by and honk the horn?
No. The
Oh,
Jeep Wave, a lot of 4-door Jeepers don't wave.
Okay.
The Jeep Wave it's like, you know, you see motorcyclists, like Harley riders wave at each other.
Yeah.
Or drivers. It's the Jeep Wave. But the newest Jeep has to wave first to the older Jeep.
Oh, okay. Well, this is a 24, so I'll have to wave a lot.
Yeah. So when you see someone, like when I'm driving my Jeep, if I pass another Jeep, the only people who don't wave are the people in the 4-doors.
Oh, wow. No, I will wave. No, I absolutely love it. I just got it last Saturday. I'll have it a week this Saturday.
Yep.
There's like 71 miles on it when I got it.
Mm-hmm. Mark Slivka, how are you? Oh, Lord Williams, a fan of the 23 Bronco 4-door Wild Tracks, the Sasquatch Wild Tracks. Oh, I've driven one of those. That's nice. Very nice. I still love my Jeep, though.
Yeah, I love my Jeep. And on the screen, it's got the big screen on it. And as soon as you start the car, it pops up Robin and it has a Sasquatch on it. That's the profile pic on it. So I love it.
I deckled mine a little bit. I put on my my Area 51 license plate. I attached that to my rear view.
Nice.
And then I've got an alien sticker on one side and a Sasquatch sticker on the other. So
I have my Sasquatch seat covers. You can go online and they have the standard seat and it's got a Sasquatch as a cover and it just slides over your seat. It'll fit
Nice.
any Jeep there is.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's got my
that's
Jeep
a
covers.
present for Dave.
Yes. I got to find those. You would love it. Jeeps are the bomb. I love it. I absolutely love my Jeep.
Yes. I don't blame you. I'm a Jeep guy.
Yeah.
I am. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, I'm excited.
My Jeep, I lifted 2.5 inches. I put 31-inch tires on it. So I
think these have got 31 or 33s. They've got the big tires on it. My boss called me and she's like, and I didn't have a car at the time. She's like, you know what? We're getting you a car. And I'm like, no, we're not. And she's like, no, it'll be a company car, but you get to keep it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to keep it. I will use it while I'm working for you. And she's like, well, pick out what you want. I said, I'm not picking it out. You pick it out. So she picked out that it was going to be a Jeep. And then it kind of erupted into, well, if you're going to be out in the woods with the biggies, then you got to have something you can get out in the woods with. And it just turned into this whole thing. So
Good.
I absolutely love it.
All right. I just want to say a quick thank you tonight to Jason CS, Simon with a hat trick, Charles, Big Tex, Simon Times, with the hat trick, W. Decker, Cat Chaser, and Debster for the amazing super chats tonight. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you. Another way to support what we do, join the Space Travelers Club, head over to Patreon, and there's a bunch of different packages there for you. We really appreciate the love and support. And Lord William, my boss has a Raptor Bronco. It is sick and insane. Sick and insane. Yeah. All right. Here we go, everyone. We're talking Sasquatch and all sorts of cryptids here in the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Robin McCrae is with us. My name is Dave Scott, your host for most tinfoil, wrapped around him at all times because you never know when the aliens may strike. Thank you to everyone tuning in. And I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our archives. They're always free. YouTube.com/Spaced Out Radio and every major podcast network, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and the rest of them, we are there. So make sure you download us as well. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join the Space Travelers Club on Patreon. All right, Robin McCrae is with us. We're talking structures and hot spots where Sasquatch may be found. And Robin, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I love it here.
You're here as well, my dear. Okay. We were talking right before the break on how to find a hot spot. Are there a lot of hot spots out there, or is it just by luck that we find them?
No, there actually really is because, just like you may live in a subdivision or you know where your house is and there's other houses around or whatever, it's not any different. They typically, everybody says, oh, I know where they live at. Well, that very may well be. I'm not going to say they don't because I wasn't in their area, but these temporary shelters are not their permanent homes. They really aren't. I mean, for the people that have actually been in the areas where they have their permanent home and their family lives, you can obviously tell the difference. Like when they took me there to this one group, I mean, it was built 4.5 foot off the ground. It was the size of a 2.5 car garage. And it had all these branches and trees woven all the way in the top. Like it looked like a giant Easter egg that you could climb in. And it was watertight. I mean, watertight. I had to go up and put my hand up against this bush, and I don't know if it was a portal. It took me like 2 seconds. I put my hand on this bush, and next thing I know, I'm in the inside of it. It was crazy, absolutely crazy. But they do have temporary shelters all over. But as far as the hot spots go, there's a lot more hot spots than people think because they're hanging out in their area. They have, hunters that will go and gather food for the rest of the clan, and they tend to go in the same areas. They'll follow obviously the food source, but that doesn't mean the whole clan moves. It means the hunters go and get the food. And I was going to say too, this time of year, everybody be on your toes, not in a bad way, but they're very active this time of year. Babies are now getting a little bit more mobile after being born, so they can come out a little bit. Our weather is a little bit more conducive to them being out. They're out gathering, they're getting things. I mean, they plan for winter. They stock up on their meats. They stock up on their plants. They stock up on everything that they're going to eat. So they're out there. They're more active this time of year as well because they're getting ready for the winter. Just like we do. People that have had gardens all summer long are canning so that they've got it to get through the winter. They're not any different. They may not be canning things, but they're going out and they're gathering. I was in Michigan one time, and one of the DNR officers went into a cave and found 14 deer gutted and stacked, and nothing but these gigantic, large footprints all around it. You know, they prepare. They're part human. They're highly intelligent. They're smarter than us. And they are getting ready for winter. So with that comes the fact that they're more active. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's all about respect. Give them their space. They'll give you your space. It can be a very calm encounter, but just be aware that they are more active right now. And also, if you should see any of these children, we think we're protective of our children. That is nothing compared to them. And they are, if you even are close to those kids, unless they've given you permission to, it's going to get ugly because they're going to protect those kids with their lives. So just be mindful of it. You don't have to be fearful of going in the woods. It can be a great experience. It's a good time to see them. Just be mindful of the fact that they're out and about, that this is more active for them. And if you do see the kids, just give them their space. We don't want anybody crowding our kids and being on top of our kids. Neither do they.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Let's go over to some questions for you
Sure.
tonight. All right. Let's start off with Simon, who's asking, Robin, have you ever seen, or do you ever see dogmen?
I actually do, Simon. I get along very well with the dogmen around me. I always have. I have spoke, because I am telepathic, I have spoke to some aggressive dogmens before, but I have never been harmed by any of them. They haven't tried to do anything to me. We do have them around here. In my area, the dogmen and Bigfoot share territory. That is not how it happens everywhere, but it isn't uncommon. I know a lot of places that they do share territory. They're not sitting around the campfire having hot dogs and eating dinner with each other, but they just kind of let the other one do their thing and they do theirs. So it's a shared thing. But yeah, I actually have a photo of a dogman pup. His name is Nico, that wanted me to come outside. They like to look at me and pull energy from me. And he said he would let me get his photo. And I was able to get a photo of him. He was about 30 foot up in a tree. And so that was quite fun. But yeah, I've seen them. I've seen a lot of them that were semi-cloaked, where I could see them and they were translucent, but I could see their shape, their face, everything about them. I have seen some in flesh and blood, and I don't have a problem with them. You know, I mean, there are some, of course, but it's like, even with our people, we have murderers, rapists, pedophiles. You know, we have good and bad in ours. So do these. Not all dogmen are bad.
Okay. I never knew dogman was known for climbing trees.
You know what? I wouldn't have thought of it. He was way up there, and they do. They actually get up there. I mean, they're more canine. I was very surprised to notice it. Like, I really was. That I didn't anticipate that at all. That was quite a shock for me.
All right. Let us move on to Paramarv. Robin, why would the government want to hunt them, being the Sasquatch, down?
Unfortunately, our people tend to kill what they don't understand, and they don't really want the public to know that they exist, which is why we had so many problems with the Sasquatch Genome Project. You know, they can only control them to an extent. It can affect the parks and recreation revenue if people feel they can't be protected. So that's one of the most minute reasons. They also have captured them, kept them in underground bunkers, done experiments on them. You know, they have paranormal abilities. The government would love to get hold of these paranormal abilities. They can't tap into them because the only way they can get close enough to do it is to kill them. And once they're dead, you can't access them. And I mean, there is so many reasons that I'm not aware of. I mean, I can, of course, tell you what I am aware of. And so they don't want it there. It has to do with the genetics that are behind them. You know, they already had told me before I worked on the Ketchum study, they told me what they were. They were a human hybrid. The dad's side is an ET on it. The mom's side is a human on it. It's just the way it is. That's why the paranormal abilities. Our government doesn't want to acknowledge the ETs. They certainly don't want to acknowledge a human hybrid. And again, these are something that are big enough, have enough abilities and enough strength where They can be dangerous. Most of them are not, but they can be. They have that potential, and they're living out in the woods. Parks and recreations are a huge revenue for our country. So how does our government say, oh, you're 100% safe, but if something 14 foot tall comes up to you, zaps you, or tosses you in the air, it'll be okay, don't worry about it. But we can't tell you it exists because it's got alien DNA in it. So, we can't prove it's alien DNA in it. I'm going by what the Sasquatch told me, not by the study, because the study couldn't find what the male DNA was because there was nothing in the database. However, I was told by the Sasquatch that on the dad's side, it's star people.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to D. Sypha, who's asking, is something creating these hot spots a frequency or resonance? Great question, by the way.
That is a phenomenal question. And actually, not in all areas, but in some areas, absolutely. You have ley lines. You have, the earth is the biggest energizer battery that there is. And we have certain areas that have energy holes or vortexes or ley lines or energy fields. And the Sasquatch are wonderful at laying down energy grids. They can do that as well. So you have a higher energy, which is a higher frequency, and it brings a lot of those in. So absolutely, and a phenomenal question.
All right, let's continue on. The Doug Shelby is asking,
Okay.
and I have the feeling that the big feet that are around here, sometimes we think they actually kind of like us, or at least they don't dislike us.
No, they actually do. When they're hanging around and you're there, you get followed a lot, I think, and more than I think you even realize. According to them, they play little games with you. They're trying to get you to realize that they're just playing games with you. Some of the stuff you pick up, some of the stuff you don't realize. They're very subtle when they do things, so that could be the issue as well. But if they didn't like you, Doug, I promise you, you would not be allowed there. So I absolutely believe in my heart of hearts that they have not only a tolerance for you, but they're very curious about you. And as you go out and interact with them, please talk to them while you're out there, whether it's in your mind, even if you can't hear them through mind speak, they can hear you anyway, or even do it verbally. Keep those communications going. Go out there and say, I'm here in peace. I want to interact with you if you can come in peace as well. Be very specific when you speak to them. Never assume, because their words mean different than ours. So we have to be very clear when we speak with them. So make sure it is literally like talking to a toddler. Not that their mindset is that way, but when you speak to a small child, you have to be completely clear. So there's no wiggle room in their understanding and comprehension. And that's the same way when you speak to the Bigfoot.
Okay, let's continue on.
They said, look for the rocks. There's little rocks. They keep putting little rocks out for you somewhere. It's like a game to them.
Let's go to Derek. What is the Bigfoot population in North America?
Derek, I would love to give you an exact number. However, that just isn't possible. I will say this to you. There is a lot more than people ever dreamt there was. They really and truly, they're masters at hiding. People assume, I've heard people randomly say, oh, there's 3,000 in the United States. That is a load of crap. Like literally, there's probably 3,000 to 6,000 or more in a state, let alone through the entire United States. It's laughable to me. One of the clans I worked with in Michigan, in that one clan, and I didn't even get all the members of the clan. I was keeping a journal of each one that I saw that would come onto the property, and I would do a description and give it a name. I had 62 names. Like, there are so many more than people can comprehend. Do I think there's millions? No, I really don't think that there's millions, but thousands, yes. And absolutely more than people think. People think they don't come in the city. Again, not true. They don't care if it's a city. They have them in Detroit, Michigan. So there is quite a bit. I don't have an exact number for you because there's actually no way to get you that exact number. They have more children every year. They are very difficult to locate and find. So you would never be able to get an accurate population, but there is quite a bit.
Okay, let's go over to California, where Joe is asking, what's the government going to say when somebody shows up with a Bigfoot that they hit with their truck.
Joe, that's actually happened. I had a situation where a county truck not far from my home hit. There was a large male, and he had his younger brother with him that was probably 9 years old. And the county truck came around the corner, and as they did, they hit the large male and killed him. The only reason I was made aware of it was because my son was on his way to work and saw it. The government was out there in a red hot minute, they wanted the body. The Bigfoot don't give their bodies up. They bury their dead. They show a great deal of respect to them. There's rituals that are done for them when they pass. And if the government can get hold of that body or knows somebody that has a body, they will take that body. You will never see it again. It becomes classified and it is gone. But also the Bigfoot, they don't want to give up their bodies. They will fight to the death if they have to get those bodies back, just like we would for our people. But the government will cover it up. That's what they do best. And then they take the bodies and they are classified information only.
Okay. And let us go to Simon here. Are
Hey,
Bigfoot, Yetis, and Australian Yowies all capable of cloaking and telepathy?
Absolutely.
Doug Shelby says,
if I could clarify on that just for a second, every clan runs its clan different, and they all are born with these abilities. If they're not taught by their parents that they have them, they don't know. And so you get certain clans that are like Amish people are, where Amish don't like electricity or modern conveniences or that kind of thing. There are clans of the Sasquatch that have chosen to speak telepathically but not use the other abilities, and they don't teach the children they have them. And if anybody goes to World Bigfoot Radio, looks up the story of Kevin Lang and Glag, that's a perfect example. Glag had no idea he had abilities, and as he got older and he got integrated with another clan and the clan had abilities, they taught Glag that yes, you do have them, and now he has full uses of them. I mean, I mind speak with Glag on and off. But so, they all have the abilities. They're all born with those abilities. However, if the clans that they're with do not teach them that they even have them and don't know it other than the telepathy and the cloaking, then they wouldn't know.
okay, let's. Doug Shelby says they're throwing little pebbles at them.
Yep, I told you that they said they kept showing me these little rocks. That is their way. That's not being aggressive. Okay, depending on the size of the rocks or the pebbles, that determines what they're trying to tell you. The little pebbles, it's a game. They're just letting you know they're there, and they're doing it with these little pebbles because that way they can't hurt you. It's fun. And on top of that, it's safe for them. If you're going to try to hurt them, it's safer for them to toss these little pebbles at you so that you're not getting full views of them and they're safe enough distance away to keep themselves safe. It's almost like a meet and greet. But they did say, look out for the little rocks because there's little rocks involved.
Susie B is asking, Robin, I'm going camping tomorrow. I found a structure last time. Are there forest people where I found that structure?
I don't necessarily, I'm not going to say that they live right there, but Susie, they do come through there. That's why that structure was there. So they do visit that area. So I would maybe spread out a little bit, see if you can find some more. Always remember, respect is key. So you don't want to be intrusive about it. You don't want to tear down their structures, but certainly go and look at them. Like, I'm structure girl. I love the structures, but absolutely that means they've been through that area.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. We got 3 minutes to go here, and we got another question from Paramarv.
Sure.
Rather than fear the Bigfoot and hunt them down, has anyone from the government sector made an effort to establish a relationship with them?
Well, obviously, I don't know everybody in the government. I'm sure that at some point they have. I mean, I feel confident saying that they have. Most of the interactions with the government, I don't believe, are pleasant just because that's what I'm told by the Sasquatch themselves. Do I think that they've ever had different groups of government people that have had an effort? When Mount St. Helens erupted, they were there pulling them off the mountains and helping them. Unfortunately, what became of them after the government took them has yet to be determined conclusively. There were some that they had to shoot because they were mortally injured. But I do know what they do to them. And it's barbaric, to say the least, and criminal. But do I actually believe that there have been some government people that have established a relationship with them? I actually do, for a variety of reasons. But yes, I actually do believe so.
All right. With 2 minutes to go here, let me quickly ask you about the structures. That is, you said there's temporary structures that
Mhm.
are there due to, are they there when a group is on maybe a hunting assignment?
Yeah.
Or-
Yes.
oh,
Or would make little tiny structures that look like something could hide in it. They would be in the backyard, the adults would, and they would let the kids play in that, or they would be hunting in the backyard and they'd put them there. This was before they started having me watch the kids. And they would, little tiny brush, or if they're going to take a nap and they want some kind of seclusion, they'll get it. You see a lot of the teepee structures. Those teepee structures are there for different reasons, but those teepee structures are not their permanent homes. Those are a temporary structure. It's like a blind for them to people watch, to watch the deer. Maybe the hunters are out, of their people, and they want a place for shelter. Those are not what I would consider a permanent living dwelling. Like I said, they've taken me to see those before, and it looked like a little tiny subdivision in there. And these things, 4.5 foot off the ground with nothing but brush under it, branches all woven and curved at the top. These were waterproof and the size of a 2.5 car garage. I mean, they're just massive.
wow. Robin, 30 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook. I did have a name change, everybody, but it's still me. I am no longer going under Robin Haynes McCrae. I'm getting a divorce. I'm very happy with that. So I'm under Robin Haynes, Haynes. You are more than welcome to reach out to me on Facebook, or you can email me at RLYNNE and then a period, FORESTPEOPLE@gmail.com.
Robin, thank you so much again.
Oh, you're so welcome. I love it here every week.
It is
I'm going
always
to miss you guys when Duke is back.
yes. I got to talk to Duke. I don't know when he's coming back.
I have no idea.
I don't know either. He's stuck in the forest playing with dowsing rods, trying to find a signal to come in. He hasn't found it yet, but we love Super Duke. We love you too, Robin. We'll talk to you next.
Thanks for having me.
Much appreciated. Robin Haynes, everybody. And we want to say thank you for tuning us on in as we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking us in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Twitter, and the SOR Space Travelers Club.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. All right.
Yeah, that was fun.
It's always fun with you, Robin McCrae.
I know. I love it here. You
We
guys are
love
the best.
we love you too, Robin McRae. So here's something funny.
What?
I'm going to be very, very careful with what I say. But I got asked to speak at another Sasquatch conference.
Good.
Yes, very cool, very awesome. Okay, here's the funny part. One of the first things they said to me was, "You're not going to go all woo-woo on us, are you?" And I went, "What do you mean? I don't understand. Would I do that?"
Do they know who you are?
Yep. So I'm probably going to, I don't know if I want to do it. I really don't. I'm keeping the name quiet right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure I want to do it, but the question that he said didn't piss me off. Okay. But what it did do was, because I really respect this person. Okay.
Uh-huh.
But what it did was it really made me think about whether or not I want to be associated, because it's not just me, it's the show as well that wants to be associated with narrow-minded people who have already made their decision
Preconceived. Yeah.
on
You
what
know,
this is and what it's not.
the thing, like with me, like whenever I do a conference or if I do a show of any kind, like I'm on Barb and Grizzlies this week on Thursday, and I always ask the host, do you want me to talk more about the woo? Do you want me to talk about flesh and blood? I can do either one, just what's going to work, for your venue. And I don't mind doing the flesh and blood. I look at people and I'm like, okay, they're not at that point in their journey where they're ready to handle what I know is truth because I've lived it for so many years.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to give people the wrong information. And I can do the flesh and blood, like I can stop short of the woo, but I'm not going to lie about the fact that this stuff exists. Like I've lived it,
Yeah.
and breathed it for 59 years. I can't change the fact that it exists. I can't keep it in this nice little tiny, tidy box, because if I do, am I being true to the Sasquatch? I'm not. Because they're not just flesh and blood. There are parts that are flesh and blood, absolutely. So you just gotta, it's really hard because I've been in that situation. And so you have to kind of find where is the boundaries to it. But then you also have to stop short of saying, they're only flesh and blood. Because if you're doing that, you're doing a disservice to yourself and to them. And that's not the truth.
I fully agree. Fully agree with you.
Yeah. So I try, I don't, like the conferences, I really am careful. There's only like Dr. John Stamey. I'll do any of his conferences, and I do the one you're coming to, Harriet McFeely's in Nebraska, because they will let me say what I need to say. With Harriet's, because Nebraska is the Bible Belt and they're a little bit nervous about it, I can talk woo, but I be careful how deep I go. Like I don't go all the way down the rabbit hole,
You know what,
but
for me, hun, the big thing for me is I'm not going to, if I end up doing this conference, I'm not going to ruin my credibility or my experiences because they don't believe in the woo.
Exactly. Be true to yourself, because at the end of the day, none of these other people matter. It's not that you don't care. And of course, anybody that is an experiencer, we share our experiences to help educate. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
But you can't compromise your integrity. You can't diminish the knowledge that you've gained. You've earned that. Don't ever, and again, one of the reasons I'm getting divorced, don't ever let anybody diminish your worth of what you've learned on your journey. You've
Absolutely.
worked hard for that. You know what you know. That's okay. Not everybody is going to be up to the same speed as you, and that's all right. But don't ever put yourself in a position where it diminishes the knowledge that you have, or you have to walk away and feel like you were doing a disservice not only to yourself, but to the Sasquatch because you weren't being truthful.
I
You know,
agree.
it's all right to talk just about the flesh and blood, but you have to make sure you catch yourself from stopping short of saying they're only flesh and blood, because then you're not being a friend to them and you're not being true to yourself.
I agree. I fully agree. Fully agree with you.
Yep. And you'll make the right choice. I have faith in you.
I'm sure I will. Yeah, don't worry, Super Duke. Nobody pushes me into the BFRO agenda.
Yeah,
Mark,
there is an agenda there. I did a conference with BFRO, and I will say this, there are some people in the BFRO that I do think are very nice and I don't have a problem with, but there is some really bad things that, like, I did this conference with them and they were so opposed to even thinking that they weren't just a flesh and blood animal around the woods. I was so furious. And of course, I didn't say anything. I'm not going to disrupt anybody's day. But I was furious because I'm like, what a disservice to the public. You're putting this information out and you may believe that, but there's more to the picture. They're not any more animal than we are. And you can't just say they're flesh and blood when millions of people are experiencing the paranormal side of it. Not everybody in the world is wrong so that you can keep it in a neat little box. Like I said, I do have people that I know on the BFRO that I highly respect. So I don't think it's the whole organization, but you have to be really careful. And I also know whether the different sectors of the BFR are aware of it, but the government watches the BFO really close because they have a website where they put where all these sightings are, and the government uses those websites. And I'm not saying the BFRO is causing that or is aware of it. I mean, I can't speculate. I'm not involved with BFRO at all, and I won't be, other than the people that I know that are very good and kind. But I do know that that's one of the sites they watch to try to locate and track them. And that, again, that's a scary thing.
I agree.
But there are some good, respectable people on the BFRO. I know a few of them. You know, it's not an organization that I would want to be part of. They probably don't want me there either. But there are some good people on there. You can't denounce an entire organization, you know, when you do have good people there as well, very knowledgeable people. But for me, limiting anything when it comes to these incredible beings, you can't do that. That rabbit hole is nonstop. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper every day. And you can't go anywhere and just say, this is all they are, because you're doing a disservice to them. And you're doing something that is a disservice to people out there that need to learn about them and know about them. It's the same thing as lying. If you withhold the truth, it's a lie. And how can people know how to act accordingly around them, protect themselves or protect the Sasquatch if they're not given all the information? What they do with the information, what they process, what they retain is on them. That's their choice. When they're ready for more, their minds will open up and they will get it. But if we refuse to give the truth out there and give them the opportunity of that knowledge, we're not any better than anybody else. There's a responsibility when you start trying to educate people. That's my soapbox for the night.
I love it. I love it. I do. I friggin' love it.
Well, you're the best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Robin, we will let you go for tonight.
Okay, sweetheart. I will see you later.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. All
Love you guys. Bye.
Robin McCrae, everybody. I'm going to get going here because I got to do some major editing here, and I'm pretty tired, so I might have to finish it in the morning. But thank you to Deb and W. Decker ×2, Simon ×3, Cat Chaser, Big Tex, Charles, CS, and Jason for the wonderful super chats. I'll see you all tomorrow night, guys. Don't forget, check the description below. Join our Patreon and be a part of the Space Travelers Club. And you can shop at our website, spacedoutradio.com. And we will see you tomorrow night, where our guest will be Becky Vickers We're going to be talking about the legend of the Goat Man. Oh, it's going to be good. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.